How's it going, guys? So I just got the fights pulled up. The one I have pulled up on the screen, that those are going to be the first. Those are going to be the first fights. I guess the first one on the card was actually canceled. So I don't know if they're going to have a late start or not. But the UFC just went live on Fight Pass, so I'm assuming. And I believe the prelims will be on ESPN as well, in case anybody wants to tune in there. But the main card will be on pay-per-view. Right now, they're just talking about Thiago Santos and waiting to have the first fight. It'll be a little bit, it seems like, because with the first fight being canceled, we're going to the second fight, and I think that'll drag it out a little bit. But yeah. So, it should be up and going soon, hopefully. I just didn't want anybody to think I missed or they missed anything because the start time is set for 6:30 my time, and yeah, the first fight got canceled, so it's going to be a little later. Came on here a minute ago. Also, guess I'm on Chicago time. How are you? I'm doing good. How are you doing, Michael? Glad to see you tonight, or see you're typing, I guess. I always think that's a weird saying when you're talking to somebody in the chat. Just be like, "Oh, it's good to see you." It's good that you're present here. Swimmingly. Yeah, I'm gonna do some UFC commentary tonight. Watch some of the Vegas card that they have going on. You know, human cockfighting. One of my favorites. And then, I don't know. I'm deciding if I want to watch the main card or what I'm going to do there. But, yeah, they're just killing time. Oh, man. It looks like the first fight's not for like 20 minutes. Here's what I'll do. If anybody wants to come on and chat in the meantime, I've got a 20-minute window, so I'll share the screen there. Because I don't want you guys to have to hear me ramble by myself for 20 minutes to a half hour when the stream's supposed to be about UFC. Because it just won't make any darn sense. I wish it would share these comments on Twitter. For some reason, it doesn't share both. Hey, Mud Rabbit. Just waiting for the fights to start tonight. Hanging around. It's got a 20 or 30-minute delay on the show tonight because first fight was canceled. Yeah, this will be the first fight once it actually gets started up. It's Mara Silva and Stephanie Egger. But yeah, like I said, I share the StreamYard in case anybody wants to come on and chat for a little bit. There's like a 20-minute wait until things start, so more than welcome to join. I didn't realize it was going to be so far from the start. Mud Rabbit. I think we're gonna do this one like the last one. The main card will be findable, to say the least. I didn't realize Fight Pass had so many commercials. It just puts up a Fight Pass ad so you don't have to watch the commercials. It's weird. Busy day today. Ain't nothing wrong with a little decompression. Everybody needs it. I'm gonna need it for the next 2 months. I've been feeling a little weird lately about being online and doing stuff online. I don't know. Might change things up in my personal life a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. I got high ambitions about the future, but like my immediate future, like within the next 2 months. But still that uncomfortable feeling of something different, if that makes any sense, without giving away too much. It does in my head. I'm just not allowed to say too much. I'm excited, but I don't know. The anticipation is building. I'm not usually one to have anxiety, but I do get butterflies about things, and I think I'm decent at relaxing. For me, sometimes I get this feeling like like I'm trapped. Like I'm growing roots where I don't grow roots. That's the easiest way to explain it. Oh, we have a guest. The one and only. Well, let me switch up the layout here.
Guten Tag.
Howdy, sir.
How are you, sir?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I've been fine.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Got a little bit of a delay here, so let me shut this window. Oh, there we go. No, it was repeating itself. Yeah, just trying to write some new music.
I saw you coming on with a guitar. What are you covering up?
Covering up?
Yeah, it looked like you put your hand over it when we were looking at it.
Right here? This thing?
Oh. What kind is it?
It's I believe it's a 1972 or 3 Gibson Les Paul, standard, left-handed.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. Take a look.
It looks good.
It's an amazing piece of machinery.
Is that one of the newer ones or one of the original ones that they came out with?
Well, I believe this is a copy of one of the originals from the 50s.
Gotcha. No, I just didn't know if it was because I hear some of the older ones are cool, but they still have like things that you'd have to get used to because they're not as prime as some of the new ones that they're putting out.
Yeah,
They're more for
yeah,
display,
yeah,
memorabilia at this point.
yeah. Yeah, this is amazing for writing on. It's I've played it on literally every recording I've ever made since the 90s, and I I had it packed away for a couple of years until recently, and um, and then my brother died, so that was kind of a big family tragedy, and
So
the
did you put it away for a while, or did it make you
only,
write more?
yeah, I took it out after my brother died and started playing again, and I've been writing a lot of music. And speaking of decompressing, as you were earlier, I think it's been really helpful in the process of moving forward from that. Because the last like month or two has been pretty pretty bad for my family and all that. 'Cause, my brother was young, and it's kind of a tragic thing. He was only 40.
And
So
what better way though to kind of release that emotion than something like music? Because I feel
yeah,
like music is one of the few. I don't know if you'd even call it a category or what that you can release so many different kinds of emotions or
yeah,
trigger so many kinds of emotions like memories. I
hmm
feel like music's got some powerful abilities to it.
yeah. I think everyone should try it. It's something that we should all probably be able to do something with, because it's for everybody. It's not just for
Like I ever said, I loved Les Paul.
yeah. Music is there for everybody to make. So, yeah, it's something that I'm hoping that in the future there's even more of.
Well, yeah, I mean, I assume the music is just going to keep evolving.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll ever be stagnant. Even if they keep recreating things off of the past, I think it's just something new.
Yeah,
I just
and
hope we don't get too copyright crazy about music because I think we'll eventually get to a point where
yeah,
everything has been sung, everything has been written, like in
yeah,
certain genres, and I don't want people to get too copyright crazy where you can't use that genre anymore.
mhm. Yeah. That can be a problem where people can get just obsessed with copyright. But there's also the problem of people who are, there are a lot of people who are well trained with music and studied with it and can actually produce new things. And those people should also be, I think, rewarded for that work. And that's often not the case still, you know? It's like,
Yeah, very true.
yeah,
Well,
unfortunately.
cómo estás, Michael?
Hey,
Nice to see you, man.
bien, you too?
Así, así. I was talking to the Michael in the chat though.
Oh, that Michael Moody. Hey, how are you? Sorry.
I thought I saw him speaking Spanish mainly in his lives, so felt like I could meet the middle ground. He's coming here and listening to my English speaking my English speaking chats all the time.
Yeah, I forget that not everybody's named Michael. I mean, or that there are other people not named
There's at
Michael
least 6 in my community.
or something. So
And
it's
who
like,
knows how many other fake names are named Michael.
what's that?
I said, who knows how many other fake names are actually Michael. You know what I mean? They go by something else, and their name's actually Mike or Michael.
Oh, right.
They're different online persona.
Yeah, there's a lot of. That's true. Yeah, I used to do that. Now I just use my name.
What kind of fun online personas did you have? What was your favorite?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time. Let's see. Oh, geez. Well, back when back in my day when CompuServe was the thing, and AOL Buddy Chat and all that stuff, we used all kinds of aliases.
Ain't nothing wrong with AOL. I still got an
Mhm.
AOL email to this day.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody makes fun of me for it, but I love, like, we wouldn't have all the social media we have today without AOL. Kind of laying the groundwork, especially with like AIM Instant Messenger that they ended up getting. I think that evolved into like our Facebooks, our you know our MySpaces and stuff like that. There was formats before that, but they weren't set up the same with instant messaging.
Yeah, I remember it took like a half an hour to sign on with CompuServe when it was around still in like the 80s even. You had to turn on the computer, which took like you had to put a disk in to make it work, and you had to put the operating system in, and then you had to hook it up to the phone, and then the phone had to connect. Um, and it was so long ago, and there were so few people on the internet that finding a way to connect with someone online was like you would have to wait for someone else just to happen to come on. So that was CompuServe for you, and no wonder it died because it took like all day.
Michael, let me interrupt you for a minute. How much free time do you have right now?
Um, I got some.
You got some? I'm
Mhm.
thinking about, because I don't really feel like watching the prelims of this fight card,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking about changing the title to
Oh,
uh, me and Michael MacIntosh.
well,
But I wanted to make sure you had the time to hang out before I did it.
yeah, I mean, I got some. Yeah, I've got.
Me
Well,
and Michael MacIntosh.
and Les Paul.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time to get to be able to play like that. That's the
I don't
problem.
know. I'm better at learning music by sound. I'm not very good at reading sheet music.
Yeah, I used to be able to read sheet music when I was a kid. I studied jazz and classical, and I was in a jazz band in school and in high school and stuff. And we used to have these performances. We'd have the sheet music in front of us, and we'd have to follow along with the composition and the piece and everything. And
Did you start off with classical? Is that how you learned?
yeah, I started off as like Spanish classical guitar actually, and then I got corrupted by punk rock,
That'll do it.
and then so yeah. But since punk rock was electric, and I actually had some technical ability from classical studies, I then um, got into jazz because it was like jazz was like adventurous, still is, and it was you could use electric instruments um, and it required usage of technique like classical music. So from there, I just kind of went a little crazy with starting a band of my own, and that's how Young Astronauts Club came about, and we still have that going after 27 or something years.
I thought you had some punk stuff going on in between there.
Um, well, the thing about punk rock for me is it's like that was like my uncle's music. You know, it was like I was still pretty young when it came out in the 70s and 60s and stuff. I mean, I was just I was born in the mid 70s, so it's like I was still a baby when punk rock came around. And although I remember hearing like the Sex Pistols and the Clash and stuff when I was really little, um, from my uncles, it was still the kind of thing where that was like their music, you know, it was like the previous, almost the previous generation. So for me, it was like, well, what am I doing? What am I supposed to do? What's my thing? What's my music? And there really wasn't anything. You know, the corporate world tried to feed us things like grunge, and that didn't really. I don't know. I don't think that was really as successful as they'd hoped it would be. I don't think it was
Do you
really.
think grunge eventually got put kind of with punk, or do you think it's still its own genre?
I think
Because I think there's a lot of
yeah,
levels to punk, and
yeah. I mean, grunge is just like post punk, isn't it? Really, it's like an odd, like a weird variation of post punk,
yeah,
and
because I think that was some like I think grunge was some of the offshoots of what we now call like emo music or
yeah,
scene music, depending on what
yeah,
you call it. Just more depressive music with a rock beat.
yeah. And they tried to. I remember when I was like a teenager and stuff, they tried to force feed us grunge as like, oh, this is your music, and kids were supposed to adopt it as though it was theirs. But it was all like, I mean, guys like Pearl Jam and stuff. These guys were all in their 30s by the time they got big. A lot of them. So it was kind of like,
They were bouncing around the scene since they were 16, 17,
yeah. So
and
that
then eventually hit it off.
right. So that was supposed to be kids' music. I don't think so. I think the real kids' music of the time was like what people like I people like myself were trying to do, which was like start our own bands and start our own companies even, and do everything like outside of the corporate world and the mainstream, and not really give a damn about what it sold or how many records it sold or how much people liked it or how many times it got played on the radio or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was like a million bands like that when I started, literally like a million. Well, maybe not literally, but like thousands anyway.
When you grew up in a prime music area, though, too, didn't you?
Yeah,
I mean, I feel
that's
like
true.
there's a few hubs. Like I consider the area I live in, the Chicagoland area, to be kind of
Mhm.
a comedy hub. In the past, it was more of a music hub. I don't see as many like artists making it out of Chicago
Yeah,
in most genres now. But
yeah,
I mean, there are some notable ones. I mean, I think
yeah.
Chance the Rapper, Kanye West. And I think honestly, I think uh, what's her face, the model. Uh, gosh, I can't think of her name now. The Pepsi model. She's
Mm.
older. Oh, Sydney Crawford.
Sydney
She also came out of my area, and it's just
Okay.
like I think she's actually bigger than some of the artists that made it out of Chicago.
Yeah, probably.
Strangely, I mean Kanye West is pretty big. I'll give him that much. But I don't know. I think he's big for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Well, to me, Chicago was always one of those towns, coming up out of the Boston scene, which is what we're closest to. Um, Chicago was definitely one of those cities that I think we in Boston felt like we had a lot in common with, and like a few other places, like Montreal, maybe Chicago.
I mean, wasn't Seattle pretty much a big player? Like
Yeah, but well, it was that's the problem. That's why like in my world of music, I never really felt connected to it because it was just felt like the watered down corporate bandwagon version of what like my uncles were trying to do.
yeah, it's the Starbucks of
Yeah,
it's the Starbucks of music.
exactly. And so it's like, but I always felt like Chicago was way cooler because there were bands coming up out of Chicago
But
artists
I miss the old bands coming out of Chicago. I guess like the bluesier bands or something like that. Like they had such a big blues influence in the early '50s and
Mhm.
'60s, and it's like, oh, it carried on for years after that,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it just, I don't know. I don't see a lot of mainstream artists making it out of Chicago. I mean,
Yeah,
you get
but
Barack
there's some really
Obama,
great stuff.
but
There's definitely some really great stuff, though. I mean, I suppose some of the biggest of what I'm talking about would have been like the Smashing Pumpkins or something. Um,
yeah,
but there
pumpkins
was,
were good.
and they're still amazing. They're still a great band and really creative. And but additionally, there's also stuff like Tortoise. Have you heard of them?
Tortoise, the band? No,
Tortoise, the band, or Shellac?
nope, can't say I have.
Big Black, which is also kind of it's the same guy. Um, let's see. Jesus Lizard was pretty cool. They came out of Chicago. The
Yeah,
entire
no, I was saying people that made it out and made it to mainstream. I've never heard of Jesus Lizard or.
Mhm. Well, these bands were and still are really big. I mean,
I
they
mean,
made.
and I bet they're amazing artists because
Mhm.
I think most artists that actually make it out are
Mhm.
way better than the things that make it to mainstream.
Mhm.
I just remember before we were producing a lot of bands out of our area, and I just didn't know
Mhm.
if it was because it was a heavy populace or what. But
Mhm.
I feel like it's kind of dwindled down in that sense.
I don't know what it is. It must be something in the water.
It's probably in the water. That's
Yeah,
probably
must
guaranteed.
be. Uh, I think it might also have to do with. I mean, I know there's a big Irish population in Chicago, and I'm Irish as well. So, and there's a lot in Boston. There's a lot of us in Boston.
Jeffrey Kim
So,
said, which countries were your Australian, Hungarian ancestors from?
Austria, well, Austria, Hungary.
I mean, I thought it was pretty self-explanatory, but maybe, maybe I was confused.
Yeah, I had apparently I had an ancestor from I think Budapest in Austria, Hungary before World War One or something, and he left and moved west to Western Europe, and then we went even further west. But um, yeah, but like the Chicago music scene is it's like the Boston scene in a way. It's full of Irish American, like the one that I kind of associated with being the Chicago, like the my era Chicago music scene was full of Irish Americans. Interestingly, so I think that the shared culture helped foster this style of weird offshoot of rock and post punk and stuff that it's just kind of undescribable, and I think falls into the post rock category ultimately.
Yeah,
So I think
I
that's
mean,
what
I
we.
guess they could all be classified as modern rock too,
Mhm.
because whatever's going on currently is modern rock, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the populace is involved in. So I feel like all of them have been modern rock at a time.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like the rock definitions of music are kind of vague. Like, there's only like there's only one genre of music I can go. Oh, I can only pick a couple artists to be in there. And my
Mhm.
one that I always give people is love metal because I feel like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
only a few bands that actually write love metal songs.
yeah. You were sharing that Finnish band.
Oh yeah, they're one of my favorites.
Show me that. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out of just the most unlikely places anymore, and especially thanks to the internet, it's just made it so that music can be made anywhere and still be successful.
Oh yeah,
So
think
it's
about how many artists have made it big just on YouTube
Mhm.
without having a record label, without having. I mean, they just people flock to the music because they actually
Yeah,
enjoy it. It's actually based on viewers. Like it's
yeah.
a weird thing.
Like I don't have to live anywhere near Boston anymore. Um, well, I mean, we moved out to the West Coast for for that, but I don't really spend a whole lot of time even in Los Angeles. It's just like I'm out in the wilderness. You know what I mean? I spend a lot of time in Texas. So I spent like
Secluded? Are you pretty secluded from
oh
like
yeah,
the town
yeah,
area? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. The town I'm resident of has like 200 people in it,
Oh, nice.
and it's massive. I mean, it's Texas. It's gigantic. It's like
I almost think that's better sometimes. I feel like
hmm,
sometimes there's too much oversight going on when there's a billion people running around you.
yeah. You know, I I'm also a resident of Wyoming, which is a massive state with like 500,000 people. There's nobody, you know. Even like the biggest city, it's just there's not that many people. And it's nice. It provides, you know, music is often a reflection of the environment that it's made in. So it's like it provides a new environment to create in, and we're bringing something new to the world
Yeah.
in our music that way. So it's like it's actually kind
Well,
of
yeah,
cool.
and everybody should be presenting, because everybody samples subconsciously off of other artists. Like
Mm,
you tend to flock to the things that you like. Maybe you're not going to write the same songs, but you're going to be like, oh, that did influence me, regardless if I think it did or not. Like
yeah.
certain artists always do; they'll rub off on you.
Oh, for
But
sure.
to what Mother Rabbit said, that makes sense. I feel like they want to keep themselves in the bubble that they're in. They'd want people to go through the process and have to go through the same struggles as them in order to get. They don't want people being able to get a jump start through YouTube or some other streaming platform and be at the same level as them. Like, I I understand uh, the insider mentality, I guess, but I'm glad that we have the ability to get big without having to go through that process, because I feel like so many people, especially in the acting process, got scarred for life having to go through the process to get famous, especially a woman actor. I feel
Yeah.
like the horror stories that we're hearing now about women and child actors and stuff like that, and all the abuses they went through as going through with the Hollywood scene in order to
Yeah.
become famous. Yeah, I would rather have people get famous on YouTube and then hire an agent so they don't have to do anything directly with people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's way better. Um, like I never had to go through any of that stuff. We basically, from the time I was like 14, 15, we were smart enough somehow to start our own music company and produce our own products. We started like printing up our own tapes and T-shirts and records and everything else.
Well, that was
And
kind of big at the time. People were selling their own CDs out of their trunks, like they were selling their
yeah,
own merch. Like
yeah,
they wanted to have their arms around everything going around,
yeah,
especially with their name on it. It was like when you had it kind of contained like that, it wasn't so bad. And then when it got to everybody could make a fake shirt of yours, or everybody could make whatever they want of yours, and then you get no credit for it. That's when people started being like, all right, this is kind of hard to maintain.
yeah. That's that never really we never really had that problem, but
That's good.
we did get a lot of music kind of pillaged, unfortunately, by mega corporate artists, which is unfortunate because now it's like we're living in a point where people still can't tell the difference between the original thing and the corporate knockoff version. Like they think, for instance, like if you the average person, if you told them to listen to a Young Astronauts Club track from say 1995 or something, 96, and then made them listen to I'll take an artist who I know was influenced by us, like listen to maybe like a Nine Inch Nails song or something, and because Nine Inch Nails is the bigger corporate version of that of a certain type of music, they will automatically assume that that's the originator of that type of thing
I could see how
or
they
that
would.
yeah,
I could see how they would, just because, and they could get their fans to perpetuate that idea as well,
yeah,
and it would
that's what
spread a lot
happens.
faster.
Yeah, that's what happens. And so, like, people still think that, like, we sound like the Foo Fighters or something, even though we came before them. Which is really weird, you know? It's like their second album has. That's just one example. Like that band, for instance, has an album that sounds almost identical to a tape that we made in like 1995, and that album came out in 97 or 8 or something. And I was already writing that album in like 1992. So, you know, it's like we came up with stuff. Me and the guys and gals that I worked with, we came up with a lot of things, and that older people kind of then copied us, and people still think that they came up with it. So that's the world for you. That's the corporate world.
Zachary Kim had a question for you. He said, "Were you born in Boston, Mr. MacIntosh?"
Yeah, I was born in I was born in Chinatown, in Boston.
Chinatown.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm probably one of the only Irish men ever born in Chinatown. But yes, I am an American.
hey West Haven. Thank you for stopping in.
But my parents have roots in Europe, so I'm both. Like it's very difficult for me to separate myself into a single nationality. You know, is it to separate my thinking into like, well, I'm this nationality or that nationality. It's like I'm kind of a bunch of them all put together. So it's like nationalism isn't really a problem for me because I don't really fit into any one specific country per se. It's like that's other people's thing. You know? Does that make any sense?
Sorry, I didn't realize I missed like a paragraph from Mud Rabbit. She was talking about the music industry when we were talking about it, and I was trying to catch back up with it. But hold on, let me see if I can read it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, West Haven's here. I think it's West Haven.
Yeah, Chinatown wasn't nice either back in the 1970s. I'll tell you that it was kind of gritty, kind of dumpy. You know, there was like.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. How's he?
Hey. No, I just tried to stop in for a minute. Hello, Mr. MacIntosh.
Hello.
Nice to
West
see you
Haven,
again.
Connecticut. Have you ever been to Chinatown in Boston?
I've been to Boston. I've been through Chinatown. Yes, I have. I drove through there. I never stayed, but I drove through there. I know Dorchester. I know Quincy, Massachusetts. Yes, I have.
Mm.
Yep.
Well, that's where I was born.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
You can tell Jacob how nice Chinatown is sometime.
I have no idea how nice Chinatown is. I will probably never be in Boston. Yeah, I have no reason to go to Boston at the moment.
Yeah.
Stop by the harbor.
Yeah.
I only lived there for a couple of months. And
long time no see, Jacob, huh? I haven't been up here in quite a while.
Well, thank you for stopping by. You haven't been to Boston in a couple months? Is that what you said?
Oh, no, I only lived there for a couple of months. I haven't been to Boston since.
Where do you live now, Michael?
Well, at the moment, Texas.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But I'm based in Los Angeles.
Ah. Okay.
It's like the suburbs of Los Angeles, really.
Ah, that's okay. That's cool.
For the work that I do, ultimately, like a lot of people do the same thing. You know, I'm neighbors with like Sandra Bullock and stuff.
Ah.
Ted Nugent.
You know, oh, like really?
Well, for Texas, yeah. I mean, we're neighbors, you know.
Oh, okay.
It's like, cool. Yeah. I mean, I moved out west for basically after the Boston and New York music industries just kind of died,
Oh yeah, true.
And
East
there's
Coast
just
used to have a lot of East Coast have like we had a lot of music over here. Now it's kind of like not like it
yeah.
used to be.
Oh, I
It's not like
know.
you.
Right. I know Boston
Hey,
used
but
to.
did you know John Cena's from Massachusetts? Ah, yep,
I've heard of him.
yeah,
John Cena's the WWE wrestler that
yeah,
came out against said something about Taiwan and then retracted the whole thing
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
Chinese government actually reached out to him
yeah,
and made him retract his statement.
yeah.
Cool.
I actually got a picture with John Cena and me, Jacob. Yep, I actually have one.
There's something interesting that a lot of people don't know about John Cena. Whenever you take a picture with him, you can't see him.
Yeah. No, I took it. He was in actually it was at our mall in Milford, Connecticut. We're going back about 16 years ago.
Oh,
So, and I do got a picture. I got to look for it, but I do have the. I think I got like 1 or 2 pictures of them. They were signing autographs, so I took a picture with them. But I do have it somewhere.
well,
Cena suck an egg. Mud Rabbit said.
What happened? No,
Mud
no,
Rabbit
he was
said.
really nice. No, I talked to him. He was really nice. I said hello to him. He didn't talk long, but he said hi, and he asked me where I was from. I think he asked me where I was from. I said I live in Connecticut. He goes, oh, okay, So it was real quick talk. But it was like a lot of people, so but it's all right. And
Well,
it was,
that's what we were talking about with some of these people. Once they get mainstream, like they're different. Like, and it is because I understand Mud Rabbit's side. It's like he was possibly just told by a country that he couldn't acknowledge another area, and then all of a sudden he just like bent over backwards with what he was saying before, and was like, "Oh, okay, I'll change my mind."
right. Hey, Mud Rabbit. Hey, Zachary.
yeah, I played a show in Milford a long time ago. Like 1997, I played in the bowling alley in Milford, Connecticut. Milford?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Do you know any bowling alleys there?
Yeah, we have bowling alleys here in Connecticut. Yeah, we do.
Well, I mean, like in Milford, is there? I think it was just called Milford Bowling Alley.
Yeah. We actually, yes, yes, we
Is
do.
that still there?
Yeah. I believe the one you're talking about. Yeah, it's still there. Yes, it is.
Well, I played a like a punk rock show there. It's kind of like a bunch of bands,
Oh,
bands and stuff.
okay. Yep. Well, that was the
And
'90s for you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Everything was DIY.
Everything was just like, yeah. Everything was, you just went to a concert, you were fine, and that was it. You came home in one piece, Jacob. Now you go to concert, and you don't know if you're gonna make it out.
What kind of concert is that? I wanna be worried about my safety a little bit in a concert.
Well, you remember that concert?
That's a
Who was
good.
that
That's a
guy?
good mosh pit.
Actually,
Yeah.
had this very guitar at that
Oh,
venue.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
And you still got that guitar? Cool. All
I
right.
still have the same guitar. Yeah.
Does it say Grateful
Wow.
Dead on it, or what does it say?
It says "Fall is Dead." The A
Fall
fell off. Fall is it's a Beatles reference.
Oh, to Paul.
If you're familiar with the Paul is Dead conspiracy.
Yeah. No, I know the Paul is Dead conspiracy.
Well,
Jacob, I was live yesterday.
I went.
Oh,
I went one step.
it was when I was live too. I
Yeah.
ended up,
I think you were live
pop
too.
in. Saw you pop in towards the middle of it, and I ended up catching yours after I posted mine.
Yeah. Vale was up with me last night.
Yeah, I knew you had a guest on. I didn't get to see who it was.
Yeah, it was Vale. Yep.
Paul is Dead.
Yeah, she's actually live. No, I was just I saw you and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know you were live. She's live too, actually. Abraxas Paranormal.
Yeah.
He's live too. Everybody's live tonight. Usually on the weekends. On the weekends, everyone's live Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Usually on the weekends more.
Yeah, they get a little more free time than because I assume most of them have regular jobs.
Yeah.
Hard to do the online thing for income. Otherwise, I would be probably streaming a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been live. Last time I was live was about 14 days.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because I work a lot, so I don't always have time.
Oh, I get it.
And Michael Jacob will tell you I used to go live a lot, didn't I, Jacob? He'll tell you.
Oh yeah. No, you used to be on at least 3 or 4 times a week, but I remember when you changed it up.
Yep.
I think it's healthier than to be I don't know, put yourself on a schedule on the internet that
True.
eventually gets exhausting.
It sure does.
Yeah, it does. It seems like a lot of people just come online at this point now to like just to be online and talk. And,
Yeah. But Jacob, I shared you out though. Just wanted to let you know.
Oh, thank you for sharing the video.
Of course I do. Yeah, of course.
and stuff.
I try to share everybody out.
Pretty
Mostly,
good.
I try to do what I
Pretty
can.
good reach. I wish I was big enough to share people's videos.
I'm surprised you don't have any more people. You should have more than you got now. I'm surprised.
Yeah. What can you do? I lost two. No, I lost about 100 when I lost my channel.
Yeah,
But we're working their way back up. I'm almost at 200.
that's good.
That's not bad for a year on the internet.
Yeah, but it sucks though. I hate when they have that community tab. You have to have over 500. It should be. I think it should just be like when you get at least 100.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
I first started, I had a community tab. That's how me and Michael Pena actually met. I no longer have it anymore because they updated the policies. So I wonder if when I get it back, if it's going to have our original messages on there. But I used to
don't
have
know.
a community tab.
You had a community tab? I never saw it.
Yeah, no, that's how I met Michael MacIntosh. Is through he started messaging me through my community tab.
When did you have a community tab? I didn't know.
Yeah, when I first had my channel.
Oh,
Because they just updated that in the time that I've been on YouTube. Everybody used to start with one. You didn't have to have 500 subscribers to get it.
yeah.
So I
When I first-
assume it saves memory on the service for YouTube, and that's why like they didn't want to have to save the data for every small channel under 500.
Yeah. When I first came out here, when I first came out like 3 or 4 years ago, right before I came out here, it was I think less than that. Now, first it was 1,000, and now it's 500.
I used to have like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before, because I did this video that went really viral on a channel called Apex TV. And,
Apex TV. Oh,
yeah.
that's you?
That's me, yeah.
Oh, I heard of you. Okay. Because I remember when I first came out, I think that was your channel was recommended to me. Okay. Now I remember. I know I saw it one day. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and then suddenly I had like 10,000 subscribers.
What did you do? Because I remember I
And
seen a channel, but I don't remember the video.
And now I've only got like 1,500 because I made a video that was basically explaining that, I come from an American Republican background.
That'll do it.
And so suddenly it's like, oh, he's the Republican subscriber count down.
Oh, dum.
It's like, no. Republican doesn't mean Trump supporter, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So people just.
But you know what? No, but I do remember your channel. I do remember his channel because I remember one day. I don't remember when I first came back to YouTube when I first came back because I had a channel previously, but I got locked out of that channel. I had it about maybe 11 years ago, 12 years ago, and I came back and I remember I saw your channel one day, and I think I did see that video. I know I seen it. I was like, okay, now I remember because the name sounded familiar, popped into me because that was one of the recommendations for the channel. When I came back. I was like, oh, that's you. That's who you are. Okay, now I know. Okay. Now I put the face of the channel. Cool. Okay.
Well, that was 11 minutes of my life, and
yeah, all right.
And it kind of changed a lot of things for me because it put me on a direction that I wasn't really going.
Do you still have that video? Do you still have that video up anymore or no?
It's still up on the. It's still up on the channel.
Still on Apex TV, yeah.
And you can't get and you can't get in. You don't have the channel anymore, or?
Well, I'm not Apex TV. It's somebody else.
Oh, it's somebody. Oh, okay. Because I remember. Yeah, because I remember I saw your video and they're like, oh, okay. Now I remember you. Now I put the face and okay. Now I remember. Okay. Yeah, been that long. It's been that long. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of that video, a lot of people subscribed to my YouTube channel, which had like nothing on it beforehand, really.
Wow. All right.
And so I had like 10,000 followers, and then I started making new videos, and like I started talking about running for president, and that I was going to be a Republican.
Oh.
And so my subscriber count just like dwindled
all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, but but strangely, I've gotten way more support in other, like a YouTube subscriber count doesn't really matter to me.
Oh,
Like,
oh, okay.
I've gotten a lot of other support from elsewhere that isn't on the internet.
Cool.
So that's kind of good as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
And speaking of doing things, I gotta start doing my scam baiting. Jacob will tell you I do my scam baiting a lot. I do a lot of scam baiting.
Yeah.
Jacob's been up with me. Jacob's been with me a few times. Jacob will tell you.
So,
Yeah,
so if you want,
I did destroy somebody, and Jacob will tell you I destroyed one person on that one person one day.
Yeah,
I went.
actually-
Elena went all out.
so if you want subscribers on your channel, don't ever say you're a Republican.
I'll put it this way. I'm in the middle, so that's all I'm gonna say.
That's a good safe route. Just say I'm on the fence and I haven't decided.
I haven't decided now. I'm in the middle. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, Jacob. Speaking of things, speaking of chat, you had a private chat, right?
Oh yeah, no, I was kicking him from the room. He always whoever it is, they always come in with pictures of the movie Cars. Different.
Oh yeah.
And then comes
They're
in
trying to
with
get up here. They always try to get up here, Jacob.
Yeah. So I just leave him in the background and don't acknowledge him. Don't give them that type of attention. Don't even read their private chat.
Right.
If there's anybody important in there, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's not. If you hear a little beep, that's usually somebody popping into the background.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I get it a lot. It's because I share it, but it's I don't know. It's a way to weed the trolls out if the host is decent at doing it.
All right.
Otherwise, they'll invite them all on.
How long are you streaming for tonight, Jacob?
I didn't really have a plan. Just hanging out, chatting with people. And
Yeah.
Michael was available for a little while, so I invited him on. And yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta do that interview with you again, right? Yeah. Speaking of that, we gotta do that again soon.
Oh, yeah.
Interview. I'll let you know.
Alrighty.
You want to hear something really interesting?
Yeah.
Let
it rip.
Austin, Texas, right?
Yeah.
Which it's near where I'm resident.
Yeah.
The GOP in Austin, the Republican Party of Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
is promoting me as a candidate for president in 2024.
No way. Really?
Which is kind of amazing.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
So you're actually on the ballot?
well, I'm on their like media, their website.
So technically not yet, basically.
Well, but basically,
Basically. Ooh.
yeah. So it's
Wow.
kind of,
Okay.
So
Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Or is it a mixed bag?
It depends on what you think of as good or bad, honestly.
I mean that's just from the video. That's not. I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty cool. From my point, I guess. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be good to have another president from New England.
Right.
Mhm.
I think we've had enough Illinois presidents. I'll be the first to say.
Yep.
I mean, I'm a New Englander. I'm not a Texan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm definitely definitely not a Californian.
As a matter of fact, actually, matter of fact, as we speak, we're having our governor's race here soon in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I say everybody should be going through the governor's race about now.
Yeah.
Or
I think sometime in August or September, we're supposed to be having that here. So.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that one.
Are you actually gonna? Do you vote in the governor's race?
That's the thing. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with those candidates. I mean, we have two for Senate, and then we got two for governor, and I like both the candidates. It's hard. I'd have to look at more. It's kind of hard because they're like going back and forth at each other.
Well,
So,
I hope you at least vote for a governor.
Yeah.
Whichever one you do choose. I wish
definitely.
more people would get involved in their gubernatorial races and their local elections, because I feel like that's where the biggest disconnect is. Most people only vote for the president, and it doesn't have as much direct impact on your life as you would think it would. And most of the time, they should be voting in their local stuff.
Yes.
That's what's actually going to change things.
Yeah.
A
Like
lot
here,
of presidents
here,
are still-
well, here in West Haven, we're supposed to be having I think some for city. I think this year, I think it's for city council, I believe, and I think for the mayor, I believe here. I think it's this year, I believe. Yeah. So I have to start. I have to go back to. I have to go to city hall. Oh Lord, I don't know.
You know, George Bush was from Connecticut.
Yeah, he went to Yale University. Yep. Yep. I know that. As a matter of fact, I'm not far from Yale. I'm right down. I'm right around the corner. Not far. I'm over the border from there.
Yeah. He was from where you are, and he grew up where I am.
Yeah.
And his dad was from. I used to drive by the house his dad grew up in all the time.
Oh, okay.
His dad was from Milford, Massachusetts.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
People didn't know that. But yeah, I used to be able to throw a rock at his house.
That's pretty close.
Michael Phillips. Who's Michael Phillips?
Zachary Kim had a question for you. He said, "Would you like to tell West Haven about Michael Phillips, Mr. MacIntosh?" Question mark.
She might know about him already.
Michael Phillips.
Yeah. Well, he's a guy on Apex TV also who says that he says he's a time traveler from the year 2070 or something, and
His name comes across. His name sounds familiar.
yeah, and he told us things that would happen in our future. One of which would be a 10.2 earthquake in Los Angeles, which would decimate the city, and another thing that a man named Michael MacIntosh would be president in the mid 2020s.
Wasn't the earthquake supposed to happen by the end of this year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Andre was telling me about that. I wasn't sure.
Hasn't happened yet.
Oh, Jacob, I'm supposed to be going to the cemetery tomorrow. Speaking of going places,
Be careful.
going back to the cemetery again.
I thought you said you brought something home with you from the cemetery last
Oh,
time.
I didn't tell. Oh, yeah, I gotta talk. I can't go into detail too much about that. I'll talk to you offline about that. All I'm gonna say is that's all. It just kind of okay. I'll talk about that another day. That's gonna take another longer story, so that's gonna take a while. But let's just say, long story short.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies, and you shouldn't go hang out in cemeteries.
Well, let's just say, let's just say, I'll put it like this, make it short. Broken glass, a Amazon box fell off of my chair, and let's just say my TV, the TV set went off, but I didn't touch the remote. That's all I'm gonna say. Just draw your own conclusions from there. Okay. Yeah. You understand now? Okay.
I mean, I don't understand, but it's enough to creep me
Well,
out.
let's just say, okay, I'll put it this way.
Make me not want to go back to the cemetery.
Okay, I'll put it like this to you. Okay. When I wash the dishes, right? You know how when you put the glass in the dish pan, everything that doesn't fall out?
Yeah.
I'll put it this way to you. I washed one of the glasses and it broke. But let's just say me and my son were not in the vicinity at the time. I was in my room, he was in his room. And all of a sudden it crashed.
Glass shattering?
Yes. Okay. I'm serious. I'm not playing with you. That's why wasn't even in there. I'm serious. I'm not. I know it sounds weird, but that's what happened. I ain't playing.
I'm not saying you're lying or anything. I was just saying that would make me not want to go back to the cemetery wherever I found this.
Well, the only reason why I have to go back because these two. Remember, I don't know if you saw my video. There was these two spirits that keep drawing me to them. And what happened was when I go there, like there's two of them that. For some reason, I want to know what happened to them because remember I told you I went and it happened. Remember they passed away too soon. That's why I went.
Because of those young spirits.
Yeah. I don't know what. I mean, I ain't no paranormal expert, but it just something happened. I don't know why. But I gotta go back again because it keeps bugging. It's been on my mind, so I want to go back.
Secretary Kim said, "I live on the western border of Connecticut," and then Mud Rabbit says she understands. I do, Elaine. If you need info on ridding yourself of it, come talk to me.
Okay. I live on the. Oh, you do, Zachary?
No, that's from Mud Rabbit.
Oh, okay, Mud Rabbit, no problem. Cool.
But yeah, Zachary lives on the western border. of Connecticut.
Okay. What city? Oh, like what part?
I mean, I don't know if he wants to give out his city, but
Oh, you're western border of Connecticut. Okay.
you know what I mean. I don't know if he wants to give out his
Oh,
city.
okay. You don't have to tell me. That's okay. That's okay.
Not everybody likes to.
Oh, I understand. Okay, okay. Western border of Connecticut. Okay. I think I know where he's talking about. I won't say, but I think I kind of speculate where you might be at.
At least you know the area now.
Yeah. I know. I think I kind of know what he's talking about.
If they actually make me campaign for president in 2024, I expect to lose in every state in New England.
On purpose or what?
No.
No.
No,
Well, we don't know.
no.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know what.
Oh, you guys are gonna hate me. Trust me.
No.
I'm not gonna win in
Have
Illinois.
the confidence. You'll do it. You'll do it.
I don't know.
Just aim for California, Illinois, and Chicago. I mean, and in New York, and you'll be fine.
I'm not gonna win.
I think Connecticut, you'll be okay too. We'll be okay here. You'll be
I'm
okay
gonna
here.
lose in Connecticut. I'm gonna lose in
No.
California. I'm gonna lose in New York. I'm gonna lose in Illinois. And where else am I gonna lose? I'm probably not gonna lose much else. So that would actually make me the president.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob, where's the rest of the gang at? We usually talk to. Where's everybody else tonight? Where's the rest of the gang at?
I'm not really sure. I
Okay.
mean, I just end up chatting people when they come in. I haven't really been talking to many people offline anymore. I tried to separate my my social activities from
Okay.
from my
Yeah.
real life as much as possible.
Yeah.
And,
Why you think? Listen. Why you think I don't share my stuff on my streams on my Facebook
I get
page? You know. Listen. You already know why, and I'm not gonna. You already know why.
Yeah,
You already know. You already know. So
I feel like a lot of guests get mad at me because I don't accept their Facebook requests or something like that.
Well, that's just. You know what? I just put
I
this
don't
way. That's too bad. You know what? If you accept the request, fine. If you don't, I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Most of the time, I do this purge on my Facebook thing every once in a while. If I haven't talked to certain people in like 2-3 weeks, they're usually not my friend on Facebook anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like it's nothing personal. Like I use it as something to communicate with people, and if I'm not really communicating with them, I think it's hard for me to know more than 300 people at the same time.
Well, like me, for example, you do talk to me. We do talk. We do.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't go to Messenger a lot, but you know,
you check in with me every once in a while, see what's going on.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course I do. Yeah. Of course.
It's just Facebook, guys. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
No, I know. I feel like I don't want people like when I first started doing it and accepting all these people and just trying to set up guests and stuff like that. I actually ended up having people stealing pictures of my daughter off of my personal Facebook and sharing them on there. And I'm like, that was enough for me to make me want to like get off the internet altogether.
Yeah, I understand that.
Hey, Mud Rabbit says I missed the fun last night. What happened last night?
Oh, we did music trivia last night.
Oh, okay. What time was it? Late? Was it?
Michael, you would have probably had fun with it too. We were I was playing classic hits. And basically, people had to guess either the artist or the band or the title. And the first person to put in the answer got 5 points. If they didn't guess both of them, then somebody could come in with the other answer, like, "Oh, this is this song or this is this artist," in case they guessed the opposing one, and then that person would get 2 points. And we had quite the game going. Yeah, we went.
What time was this last night? I didn't know.
We went for about 3 hours. I always delete my music streams afterwards.
Oh, okay. Did I share you out last night? I think I shared you out the night before or something. I don't remember.
But yeah, we had 10 people watching, and I think about 5 people playing. It was fun.
Oh, okay.
I get to play some like classic rock, oldies, but I try to pick only mainstream oldies and rock songs just because I want everybody to have a shot at it. So if you get something that you heard on the radio before.
Nice.
That's why I call most of them like softball pitches. Like I don't know. It started out. I put on Tracy Chapman's "Give Me One Good Reason," and then we just started going into the oldies after that, and then we decided to play a game.
Give me one reason to stay here. I'll turn right back around. Yep.
Yeah.
I used to see her playing in the street in the Boston area. She was
Oh, okay.
she
She's
was
an
a
incredible artist. You know, she doesn't get a lot of credit though. She's an incredible artist. I can tell you, she's awesome, man. She's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
she was a street musician for
Yeah,
a long time before ever being a recording artist. Even she just played in the street for change.
right.
When I was little kid, she would play in like Central Square in Cambridge and stuff.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
wow. Was she from Boston area or was she just out there?
I think she's actually from Boston. I'm pretty sure she's an actual Bostonian.
Huh.
It's a good question. I'm not. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to look that one up. But I'm pretty sure she's actually from there. Tracy Chapman. Yeah, we used to see like Bonnie Raitt and stuff. You know, just coming in and out of the place. Born. Oh, she's actually from Ohio.
Oh, okay. So
But
she was probably doing the circuit around the area and went out to
Yeah.
Boston, probably went out to New York, all the main hubs.
Yeah, I think what happened is she went to school, went to college or something in
Oh, okay.
probably Somerville or Cambridge or something.
Well, yeah, if you're already in the area doing school, you might as well go out and make some funds on the side. Because I wish music was her main. Because I bet she did go to school and do other things, and
Yeah.
she was such a good musician that it was. I mean, singer that it was just like, oh, why didn't you do this? Ever since
Yeah.
she started? And because
You
I
know-
knew she was gonna have to battle just to get noticed.
Yeah, I remember on the song when Fast Car came out, I was 14 years old when that came out, and when I heard that song, I was like, she's gonna be around for a while. She had a few hits after that, a couple years after. She did have some.
Oh, yeah,
hits here and
she's
there.
got probably 4 top 20 songs.
Yeah.
She went to Tufts University, which is in Somerville, Massachusetts, which
Oh,
is
okay.
Oh, okay.
like the immediate suburb of Boston. I used to live there. I met my wife there actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, she's in my top list of female singers. Yeah, I have Tracy Chapman in there. I have let's see, Janis Joplin in there, and then I would do Amy Winehouse as well.
Oh yeah.
I have like a crazy fondness for Amy Winehouse and like her lyrical ability.
You know, it's
Like blending
what-
like pop and Frank Sinatra type sound.
right. You know what I missed though was a shame that Amy Winehouse. She just, that's a shame that she's gone.
Yeah. True.
Hmm. Go ahead, Mike.
Kind of tired and not warmed up very much. But
Okay.
yeah, I play like a black guy basically, for the most part.
What do you mean? More picking or more strumming?
No, just that
Is he picking? Sounds like he's picking.
mode. It's a modal thing.
Yeah.
Like I tend to go for more like bluesy stuff, bluesy modes, but
Well,
I
that's
have
where
like
you find your higher chords in your solos, or I think before it evolved into rock, that's when you got people playing close on the neck rather than far, because I think rock eventually turned into out here, and it was very much your bass type sound.
like Jimi Hendrix is one of my biggest influences. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of everything he ever did was blues, really.
So did you learn to play with your teeth yet?
I can play behind my back. I can play with my teeth. I can do all that stuff.
But listen, Jacob, I'm gonna have to jump off. But it was interesting. Nice seeing you again, Michael. Hope we'll see each other again. And Jacob, I hope to see you again soon.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good one. I'll try to come. I'll try to come back later if you're on. If not, I'll see you. I'll see you guys during the week. So
All right.
yeah, it's fun. All right, much love, guys.
See you later.
All right, have a good weekend, guys. Bye. Much love. Bye.
But then you get weird stuff like Eugene Chadbourne thrown in. Have you ever heard of him at all, by any chance?
Who?
Eugene Chadbourne?
Eugene Chamborn. No, I don't think I have.
There's a really amazing band that was based in New York City. I think they were called Shockabilly, and he was the singer and guitar player. And
I've heard of Rockabilly.
Well, these guys were
they're probably a knockoff of that.
Yeah, well, these guys were Shockabilly. They were kind of rockabilly. They were definitely like he's from like North Carolina or something, and that.
But it had more of a shock rock influence.
Yeah, like exactly. It's like rockabilly, but with the shock version, and it was really. I mean, they were all over the place. They were into like Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and really experimental versions of their popular stuff. But they also threw in like country picking style and like weird like French avant-garde stuff. It's just all over the place, and so that's another one of influences that.
Let me ask you a question with with your punk background, and I want to know where you classify this artist. So, I've watched documentaries on this person before, and I just watched one recently, and it was kind of like shot in a different light, and it was interesting to see. But what are your thoughts of G.G. Allen? And where would you place him in musical influence, and not your own personal, just music and as a genre? Like how do you think he influenced music, and what was his impact?
It's interesting. The girl that I dated mostly through high school and afterwards is married to his ex bass player, I think.
Okay.
So, he's from New Hampshire, which is just up the street from Boston. He used to play at like the Rat and places like that a lot, where I also played. So to me, he was always just kind of like this local music phenomenon that I couldn't really quite understand, and I just never really paid a lot of attention to. And on some level, it was probably like didn't really have any substance to it, and so I kind of dismissed it. But then, like, he became really notorious, right, for just being shocking. And
yeah, I very much thought of him as a shock artist rather than a musician. I think that was his shtick. People showed up to see the wild show rather than the music that they were playing.
Yeah, and then he died in like this supposedly died in this like really, I don't know, didn't he like kill himself on stage or something ridiculous?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I thought he overdosed on heroin.
It's funny. My old bass player was in a band that was. They were offered an opening spot for G.G. Allen. He was in another band, and they were going to open for G.G. Allen. And they heard so many horrible things about him that they turned it down.
But if you look at G.G. Allen, still got videos of the stuff he did before he was G.G. Allen. He had hair, and it was very much like The Who or something like that. He was singing very modern songs before he went to this rebellious, like shock value music that he was doing.
Yeah.
I don't even like to almost classify it as music, because I think he was more of an entertainer rather than a musician. And I don't know if he would. I mean, there's no song I could point to with G.G. Allen and be like, oh yeah, that was my jam. Like there was none of them I could do that to. Like none of them connected with me on a musical level.
Yeah, that's the point. Really, the point was like probably I'm not here to speak for G.G. Allen, but it seems to me like one of those. Like he seems to me like one of those artists that was just like what little I know about him really in his work was that his point was to be to test the limits of the First Amendment as much as could possibly be tested, you know. And I think that's something that people don't really understand about a lot of music, really, is that it's designed to kind of intentionally push the envelope,
Oh yeah.
push it as wide open as possible.
I think every current modern sound is usually a rebellious sound from 20 and 30 years ago.
Yeah, and that's where you find a lot of stuff that really is. The artists really are like the champions of all of our freedoms, and when artists are being persecuted simply for expressing something on a record or a stage or whatever, on a recording or with a guitar or with drums or anyway, you know, rapping about it, then I think we're all in trouble, you know, when that's the case.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe that was the point with guys like Gigi Allen. If anyone else knows any better, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But
No, I think you're thinking the same things I was thinking. I would just I like to get people's opinion, because his diehard fans think of him as a punk influence and this and that. And I was like, I don't see it unless we're talking about on entertainment value, not so much the musical value. But maybe I'm confused by it. I just, that's why I wanted your opinion on it as well.
Yeah. Well, New England is like that too. I mean, that's just the culture of New England historically. It's very, especially New Hampshire, where Gigi Allen is from, or was from. It's just very like First Amendment, very pro First Amendment, and it's not about the quality of the expression, but
Kind of strange that Bernie Sanders was so big then.
yeah.
Bernie Sanders from New Hampshire, or do you think New Hampshire's layout has kind of changed politically?
Yeah, well, I think what you'll find, what we will discover down the line, is that there has been massive political corruption in New England for probably financial reasons, because it became very affluent. And, you know, I mean, Boston was poor in like the 70s, even the 80s. Late 80s, 90s, Boston suddenly became really wealthy. All this money started being poured in through the federal government and investment and everything else. And then suddenly the political climate started to change. I think maybe that the change in political climate was by design. A lot of it, I don't think it was done naturally. I think it was done through a lot of it through corruption. And I think we'll figure that out eventually. But the roots of New England itself is very conservative and very Republican. I mean, we've had a bunch of Republican presidents that were from New England. Calvin Coolidge, for instance, I don't know if you know much about him, but he was from Vermont. He was a Republican. George Bush Sr. was a Republican. He was from the Boston area. I know we had John F. Kennedy and everything, but for a Democrat, he was pretty conservative and quite controversial within his own party. It's just that tradition. It's just conservative by nature, because it's New England and you have to stay indoors 4 months of the year with the weather. It's snow. You know what I mean? It's like we kind of. So you get the mentality that, like, well, we can only work 6 months of the year sometimes, so we have to really save what we make while we're working, or we're not going to last through the winter. You know, it's that kind of thinking. So that's just the tradition of New England, but it's become very, on the surface, it appears to be very liberal and Democrat controlled, but I don't think it is, honestly, at its core still.
Mud Rabbit was asking, is it kind of like New York? And I was like,
Probably.
well, I mean, I think New York really changed when they changed Times Square. I think that really changed up the whole vibe that was the grunginess of New York, the dirty, dark side of New York. And then Disney came in and revamped it for everybody. And I don't know, I think it made New York a lot more able to put on TV in the most part.
Yeah, it became easier to market it, that's for sure. But I mean, still, Maine is the most heavily armed per capita state in the entire United States.
Well, that makes sense.
So,
But that's because that makes more sense because of the area, though.
Mhm.
Like when you start getting into like, um, I could see the same argument for places like Wisconsin or any of your border states
Mhm.
that are really far up north and we're very far down south.
Mhm.
And I feel like everywhere else in between, their arms vary based on political views. But I feel like the people that are actually using it for protection are usually border states and more rural areas because they own guns for different reasons.
Mhm. Yeah, and Maine's very rural. I mean, I've been to Maine a lot. Maine used to be actually part of Massachusetts at one point before this. I mean, they changed that just before the Civil War, I think. Um,
Yeah, it was right around the time that we purchased Louisiana, right?
yeah. Oh no, it was way after that. I think it was like the 1850s or so that Maine became its own state. It was a compromise to keep the balance
But I'm
of.
just saying it wasn't that around the time it switched is when they started moving into purchasing other states and taking over other territories because that's when they eventually made those secular with New York and Maine and because it was a big three combo in the beginning. You're right.
Well, it was, yeah, I mean, it was way after like the Louisiana purchases and stuff, but there was stuff still going on the West Coast. Um,
Oh, okay.
but like n- n- before the Civil War, they turned Maine into its own state because uh, there was still slavery and there was this great compromise and the desire to keep the number of free and slave states equal in the Congress so that there would be a balance of power. Um, but so Maine was one of those states. West Virginia was one of those states. I'm sure there were some other ones out more out west, but I think there were. But they kept trying to do that to keep the balance in Congress, but it just eventually erupted into the Civil War. So that didn't work ultimately. But they kept Maine as a state. They kept West Virginia as a state. Um, I think West Virginia actually became a state like during the Civil War, which is interesting. But yeah, so but like Maine and Massachusetts have a huge shared history. I mean, there's a lot in common, um, and there's not much you can hardly tell the difference between a Maine person and a Massachusetts person. Sometimes it's like just a little bit slower, maybe.
I mean, yeah, the accents are all very similar too.
Mm-hmm. Boston people are fast. Like we talk fast. If I'm not like we walk fast, we talk fast. We're faster than New Yorkers. We think fast. Um, New York is a little slow, you know, to me. Like even.
No, I think Chicago gets that vibe too. It's very quick pace and very
Mhm.
Chicago style traffic. Everything seems
Yep.
to be very, very aggressive and very forward.
Boston's really fast though. I have to like pretty fast, and you have to be able to walk fast. You have to be able to talk fast because nobody's got the time to spend communicating all day, and it's ridiculously expensive.
Oh,
So
there you
it's
go. That's one of the perks of Boston. So you're
yeah,
telling me when you're in Boston, people actually talk to you. When you're in Chicago, people do not want to hear what you have to
yeah.
say.
Well, they mostly don't. It's just yeah. They mostly don't. It's the college students a lot of the time, and people that come in from outside of the town. Like there's a huge number of college students because there's so many universities, and
Oh yeah.
um, so you get like I get to meet when growing up and when I'm in Boston, which is at this point pretty much never. Um, I get to meet people from all over the world, but And they'll talk with you, but it's the locals. It's like, no, I'm too busy, man. I know who you are. I hope everything's good, but I gotta go.
Always in a hurry.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
So I was gonna tell you, I was thinking about doing a show. I gotta wait to hear what Rev Robbins says, but I actually wanted to do a show with the two of you, with you wanting to talk more about religion and his upbringing. I think it would be a very good conversation. So he was raised by his father. Well, I don't know his relationship with his mother and stuff like that. I didn't really dig into that. But his father would go around and they'd set up tents and they would preach together, and he was taught how to preach like his dad, and he would cast out demons out of people, and his dad was a very interesting character, to say the least. And so his upbringing around Christianity was very interesting, and then his views of it now, and then like what he separates from what his dad taught him, and then what he thinks of the Bible, I think are I think it's a very interesting experience. Just to have to go through that, and then anybody else be able to explain it to you, like he could just off the cuff do one of those, what is it, evangelist like rants, is that what it's called, when someone's like, I'm gonna cast the demon out of you, and I'm gonna I'm gonna bring the hands of God onto your shoulders, and I think that, I don't know if it's evangelist or what it's called, or evangelic, or I don't remember what the actual term of it is, but there's a term for those people that used to go around doing that, and his father very much fits the bill for it. And it's interesting because I think you guys would have pretty good conversations about it. That I think you've seen him in a clip I shared to you recently. He was sitting in the back of that clip just like, what is going on here in front of me? Because I showed you that short clip that me and you were talking about offline. And if you ever watch it again, you could just see him back there, like, I almost want him to crawl off the screen. Like, what are we talking about right now? And then you messaged me like, hey, don't ever invite me onto a panel like this. And I was like, oh, I'm glad you guys were both kind of thinking the same thing. I was like, I think you guys would have good conversations.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe it's possible. I have a very different approach to the Bible than that, but I mean,
I think everybody gets introduced to it in different ways, and I think that's why it's interesting to get people different perspectives to try to be able to compare and contrast. Because I think he's over the time that I've known Rev, he's grown a lot closer to the Bible, with having to talk about his younger years. He thought, like, to me, this is outside his perspective and me trying to give my opinion on what I've noticed. I think he's grown more into the idea that, okay, maybe I just had some bad introduction to the Bible. The Bible's got good messages. The Bible's got good stories, and maybe I was just distracted by all the the orchestrated nonsense that didn't need to be in the way. And he seems to be drawing closer and closer to God. I'm not gonna lie, and I think it's positive for him, and I think it would be. He's been talking to a lot of different people that are considered religious in our community, and it's interesting to see what he takes from all of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm more like a scientist, I mean, my interest in the Bible started when I was really young, when I was like 8. I started reading it back then, but I never really.
Was anybody in your family involved in it, or it was just you that kind of spearheaded it?
No, just like there was a Bible around, and I think it was a Gideon's Bible, like from a hotel that somebody had stolen from a hotel or something.
Yeah.
So I just started looking into it, like reading it, and then that was it. I didn't do anything or have any interest in it. I wasn't, like, my mom tried to send me to like religious education. I even went to Catholic school a little bit when I was little, But after a point when I was like 13, 14, I just had gotten to the point where I basically completely rejected any religion whatsoever. And I started looking more into science and scientific study to kind of try to find any answers for things. And then so one point I got to the realization that, like, well, if I'm going to have scientific study, scientific research, then I have to consider the possibility that the Bible itself is actually true.
Yeah.
Like I have to consider
Well, I
it.
mean, but you don't have to consider everything inside of it as true in order to, you know, to, I don't know, my science and biblical understanding has told me that these people existed. Um, they, when it was written, yes, it was written after the initial accounts of what we consider, the Christian Bible, and but I feel like it's people telling what they witnessed as best as possible.
Mhm.
Even if they weren't involved, then there's a little bit more of a retelling, of course. But depending on how many generations it gets out, I wonder if it's more of like an Iliad and the Odyssey thing, where it's like, oh, these verbal tellings eventually turned into a fairy tale, or if it's more like, oh, there is a basis here in reality. Like these people were among us. They were real people, and I think science has even proven that Jesus was a real person. They can't prove, that he was God's son or anything like that. But at the same time, there has to be some staple of reality in it, and I would say science proves that much to me. It's how far you take what you're believing and how you interpret it, I guess.
Yeah. And then there's just scientific method of investigation, which I learned in, I think, ninth grade. And properly learned it from my biology teacher. Um, so I was just kind of like, well, if I really want to know what's true, I have to investigate it scientifically, because scientific method of investigation actually seems to work to find answers. So, like, I guess after a point, I realized that if I want to find an answer, to know whether this is true or not, um, I have to first consider it objectively. And I had never done that with the Bible through, Catholic school, religious education, any of that stuff. I just never even like really considered whether it was real or not.
Yeah.
So I did that finally when I was like 19, 18, 19. I started really researching friends of mine who were ministers, um, investigating the book and figuring out what it actually said. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. I understand what it says. Now, later on, I stopped doing that for a couple of years. Then later on, I remembered what I learned, and I'm like, it's like 25 already, and I still had no answers. I didn't believe in anything. And so I just, okay, it's difficult. I basically just kind of like applied what I learned from it, studied for years before, and that's when I became believe
You're breaking up a little bit, Mike. I'm having
Yeah.
trouble hearing you. Sorry about that.
I'm just saying, a few years later, after studying it, I just applied what I learned, and it was then that I came to believe in it. And I was like 25 at that point already. I had no belief in anything up to that point. I had no reason to think anything. I didn't. I didn't that understand anything. Like we could know that they were knowable. I didn't think it was possible to know anything about the existence of God or where people came from or any of that stuff. until I applied what I learned. And it was at that point that it became pretty apparent.
Zachary Kim said, "But you're a Christian minister, Mr. MacIntosh."
That's
He was
right.
talking about you went to Catholic
And so,
school.
and so, like 2 years after I went back into my studies after coming to believe in the Bible, started all over again, did my research, my studies, and everything else, and became an ordained minister in. So I had a lot of life before that, and a lot of different stuff. So I have a lot of experience with things, and even afterwards, I had to do this, that, and the other. But yeah, just it takes some people a long time to find answers to things, and some people just learn it from their parents. And I don't know. That's not how it worked for me.
So
And
much of the Bible is metaphors and parables. For every deep meaning, you find it in every deep meaning that you find in it. Think of two more. There's three for every one. Oh, okay. Yeah, they probably have a lot of double meanings and a lot of. And she was also saying that there's codes in there as well. By the way, why would there be something wrong with somebody if they chose to be president? I don't think anybody would be should be counted out for running for president.
Well, presidents don't really choose to be presidents anyway. They're usually selected. So it's really like if you're.
I don't know what's going on with your mic. I'm having trouble hearing you, Michael.
Okay.
Or maybe if you want, you can try reconnecting. I don't know if if you got time. It's up to you. I mean,
yeah. It's better.
how's it going, Edwin? Nice to see you.
Presidents are selected. I don't think people really understand that yet, but there's free will, and then there's the illusion of free will, and the illusion of free choice, which is basically what we have, is an illusion.
The illusion of free choice.
Yep.
Yeah, I caught that part. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. I was having trouble hearing you. My bad.
Let me try come back.
Yeah, try to reconnect. Oh, do you know Edwin Mudrabbit? I don't recall if I've talked to Edwin before or not. But either way, I appreciate you stopping in, Edwin. We're just talking about right now. We were just talking about presidential candidates, just because that was Zachary Kim's last question. But we've been talking about a little bit of everything: music, politics, time travel here and there. But yeah, no, I appreciate Michael coming on. Hopefully his mic gets cleared up a little bit. It always stinks when that doesn't work out. Oh, okay, now I might remember Edwin.
Is it working? Is
Yeah.
that better?
Yeah, sounds good now.
All right.
We're live on Facebook now, but Edwin was just saying, hope everybody is stacking Bitcoin.
It's super cheap right now, isn't it?
Definitely is.
Yeah, it's like I was just thinking about it when I started getting into Bitcoin.
You can
It
keep going,
was
Michael. Just give me 1 minute. I gotta
Yeah.
run to the restroom real quick.
that
What made you? Because I knew you have been more into saving it, but when it went down recently, did you reinvest, or how have you been treating Bitcoin recently? I know you've been messing with Doge and other ones.
well, I I think of Bitcoin as like a savings account, really, that just grows over time, and basically like that. I mean, when I first started getting into it, it was 2017, and I had already been learning about and working in the stock market, basically, but still kind of learning a lot about investing and growing money. And I didn't have, a lot of money at that point. Um, but I realized with Bitcoin that you could easily grow money. So I started getting really into it, and it was $19,000 then at that point, and it went down, and then it went back up, and then it went back, and it just kept going up and down. But at this point, it's $23,000, something like that. But it's, even though it was high, that was a high price back in 2017. Currently, it's a low price, so we're probably on the way to that going much higher this year, and next year, I think. And along with that, I think certain cryptocurrencies are also going to be successful. You can see that some of them have been making ridiculous amounts of profit, like hundreds of percent. So
Do you see any of the other cryptocurrencies going long term like Bitcoin, or no?
maybe some of them, but I wouldn't recommend them as anything like a store of value like Bitcoin is. I would recommend that maybe if you have money to speculate on them with, that you could indeed make a lot of money with them. But uh, I would not recommend putting money into any of them with the idea of like keeping it there for years and years and years. I do believe that's absolutely possible with Bitcoin, and that it is a store of value. It's better than a bank. It's better than a savings account. It's better than a checking account. It's better than gold, silver, any of these things. Better than Amazon stock, better than Apple stock, Pfizer stock. So, yeah,
I don't
Bitcoin
know.
is
The
definitely,
Pfizer stock's going up pretty good.
yeah, but it's going to come down at some point. So, and it's probably never going to go back up again. Um, so, long term, I don't think that's a really good idea. I think if you want to think really sensibly long term, Bitcoin is the way to go. And it's already changed everything. I mean, people just don't really see it yet. I guess a lot of people don't really see it yet, but it's it's changed everything for me in 4 years. My whole life is completely different in 4 years than it was when I first discovered it, when I first learned about it. Um, and it was Andy Bishago that told me all about it. So actually, yeah, when you asked me if if I've changed since talking with Andy Bashago earlier, you
Yeah.
remember that?
I do.
Maybe on some level, my life has changed. I don't think that
But
I haven't changed as a person,
do you
but
know the point of that question? It was more actually attitude and like
mm,
how your
mm,
encounters were, because I don't know, I just the more I've gotten to know Andy, I
mm,
see he just seems like a very defensive person.
mm,
And I don't know if it's just because he feels like people are attacking him all the time, or if he's feels like he's
mm,
told his story too many times and he's sick of people that don't believe him. Like I really
mm,
don't understand where the aggression comes from. I really do
mm,
enjoy Andy's work, but that's why I always wonder where his pushback with other people is. Like
yeah,
he talked about Penny Bradley recently, about how he had an issue with her, but it sounds like Penny Bradley has nothing but nice things to say. Like I just don't know if she said something about the people around him, and maybe
mm,
that's why they no longer are
um,
able to talk. Like I can only speculate, is what I'm saying. I that's why I was kind of trying to get a feel for how your guys' encounter went in the past, and
mm.
if you think it would be different in the future.
Well, apparently we're going to work together at some point, so I think we'll probably end up having to get along anyway, even if one or both of us don't want to. So.
Oh
But
yeah, sure.
I I don't have any problem with just getting along with people. That's my nature. It's like I'll just get along with people. If something's a problem for me personally, I'll just let people know, and like hopefully it can be worked out. If something about me is a problem for other people, then hopefully they'll let me know and it can be worked out. It's just, you know, I just I like to just get along with people.
Yeah,
And
and everybody knows it's hard to please everybody, so
right.
there is a
Yeah.
balance there.
Hmm. Yeah, it is very difficult, but I think if everybody's reasonable, it's much easier.
I think the hardest part about what we have now is people think that if they disagree with somebody, that they
Hmm.
shouldn't like them, and I feel
Right.
like instead of having a healthy um, I don't know, exchange of ideas to better understand somebody through their ideas,
Hmm.
rather than just shutting them off altogether, whether it's political beliefs, religious beliefs, or almost anything. I
Yeah.
feel like you can just have your feet in the sand on both sides and never want to have a conversation to better know people around you. I
Yeah.
mean, the the best you can know people is the better that you can serve them as a community, whether it's on any level.
Yeah. I think social media has done that too, where it's just like, every time you tweet something out or post something on Facebook or whatever, it's like it just ends up being like that the kids in the sandbox who throw sand at each other because they felt like it. You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't like the color of the shoes you're wearing. I'm gonna throw sand at you.
Well, and
It's
that's the horrors of social media is
mm,
okay. You get enough likes on saying something mean about somebody
mm,
else, that's going to trigger you to say more mean things about other people in order to get those likes that you saw on the previous one. And it's just like people almost develop a shtick based
yeah, that's
on you know uh, I guess the social media response,
mm,
and if they think it's inciting enough people where at least they're listening.
yeah. I mean, that's really short-sighted. I don't know what their objective is with doing that. It's like, what are they getting from? They must be really, really deep down, just very insecure people to base their lives on wanting to get likes and retweets or whatever it is. It's like, who cares, you know?
I mean,
Uh,
you shouldn't base your life on it at any
mm,
point, but at the
mm,
same time, it's like I could see how people could get eaten up by that whole
mm,
process. Like a lot of people don't think of it like a drug. It's very much a drug, and
Yeah.
it has a serotonin dump just like everything else does in our lives that we would consider a drug. And oh yeah, people could very much get eaten alive by the whole social media presence, and you know, thinking that so and so likes them, or it could be anything. I think I had somebody in my family come to me and they're like, "Oh, this famous person liked my tweet," and I'm like, "Well, cool. Like, I'm glad that made you feel better, that they validated something that you said."
Mhm.
Like, I didn't know how to take it, but I understood the feeling. Because if certain people did that to me, if somebody from the Rolling Stones shared your music one day,
Yeah.
it would make you feel a type of way, right? I would assume.
Well,
Like, oh wow, that was
well,
kind of amazing.
it would make me feel richer.
Oh yeah, that you definitely feel the impact there.
That would make me feel good because I'd have more money. But I don't, I don't really need the personal validation or anything. But yeah, maybe some people are just doing that stuff for the money as well. I don't know.
I yeah, I don't know. I try to have a healthy relationship with social media. I just know it's it's something I definitely tiptoe through. Like I won't watch. I'll never play back a video of my own or anything like that, or go back and read how many likes it has or anything like that. Like I think that is a healthy way not to fully engage. But being a small channel, I do have to read all the comments and stuff like that, and I do run into some like weird things. Like I've had plenty of people tell me that they didn't believe one of my guests or something like that, and all I was thinking was, okay, like it's okay if you don't believe them. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. They didn't come on here to prove this to you.
Mhm.
Like I hate to break it to anybody that happens to tune into my channel. My guest didn't come on here just for you.
Mhm.
And a lot of people have this like weird disconnect. Like if you don't like something, just keep scrolling through. Find something you do
Yeah.
like.
Oh, I know.
You can find your own echo chamber wherever you look on the internet.
Yeah. I guess people need that. I don't know. Um,
Need more trigger warnings.
yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think maybe sometimes people. Well, I know speaking from my own experience, ultimately everything is, but like it seems like people feel like maybe they're expected to be the echo chamber for certain things, and maybe they're saying, expressing that they don't think they want to be the echo chamber for it. Ultimately,
Well, no,
that's
I
what it
think
is.
it's just the mentality in society that we have where people feel like to question somebody's ideas is bold, and I'd rather get into an argument with them and tell them that they're lying rather than actually make make them express their ideas and me try to unpack what they're saying.
Hmm.
Like it seems more standoffish
Hmm.
than understanding.
Yeah. But I know personally, I've you know encountered a lot of people at this point who I don't consider to be very credible. Now, I'm not going to go around talking about those people or call them liars or anything else. I don't really care, frankly. Um,
That's why I always say you just let them to do their own thing. I
mhm.
mean, I feel like it's not like I don't know. There's plenty of people I might disagree with or agree with online, but I actually don't even express it online because I don't want it to have any influence on how I feel or how anybody else feels about it.
Mhm.
I just feel like I don't ever want to be a roadblock or an access way for anybody's information. I just want to present it as is and do with it what you will, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, like I keep getting messages from people every day now, from a lot of people, and I only just created a new Facebook profile recently, and it already has like like 3,000 friends on it, which is crazy. You know, it's like people just messaging me nonstop. Some days it's like, yeah, I was part of this program and the other program and blah 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 blah. I was part of this, like, you know, I had my memory wiped and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no.
But why is it that you have to explain that to them for you as a person to be validated? Like, why do they? Because when they're reaching out to you, are you the real Michael MacIntosh? Are you the one from this video? Or did this things really happen to you? And it's just like, well, look at the video. Did I say it happened to me? All you need me to do is confirm that I'm this person. This doesn't have to be my identity.
Yeah. Well, I still don't even know, honestly, if what I was talking about was real. Like, I have no confirmation of that. All I know is that I have these memories, and I've said that since the beginning. When I first started talking about it, stuff in great detail on, like, Janet Lesson's shows, probably other places. I think here.
I saw you on Gary Legier when I first
show
reached out to you with the Mad Martian.
Yeah. And all I've ever said was, you know, I have these memories. I had an injury. I had to do like memory regression therapy to get past the traumas of my injury, and I uncovered all this garbage in my head that memories, and it's still there. It's not away.
Would you ever, just curious, I don't know what your state's like with this stuff. So Illinois has been big on this this new psychedelic kick for memory and for thought process and stuff like that. And they're doing it with different hallucinogens, and they're having a guided doctor basically take you into your own thoughts under the influence of hallucinogens. Would you ever try something like that, or go overseas and try ayahuasca, or do something like that where you would do a deep dive into your personal self?
I have done that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've taken LSD. I've taken magic mushrooms. I've taken ecstasy.
I'll say all of those things compared to like DMT. I think those are very surface level, depending on the amounts that you're taking. Like the things that they were doing to people in like MK Ultra and stuff like that. I think those are very much large amounts of LSD. But like with the casual tripper that, you know, has a couple hits here and there, I don't think they're ever going to take themselves out of their reality. And like, I don't know. I mean, you can maybe get ego death or something like that, but I don't think it'll actually reach a point of I left the existence I was at and went somewhere else. Like, I think good examples of that are like salvia and some of the religious practices they do in Mexico. Also, probably some of their magic mushroom guided tours that they do out there with that as well. Because when I say guided tours, it means they're going to take you on a journey with magic mushrooms, and it might be a religious one, it might be an internal one, but they usually give you dosages that are quite strange. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Girlfriend brought some food home for the rabbit. Brought him some rose bush, it looks like.
That was how long I haven't touched any of that stuff in decades, you know. So now that I've started to uncover all these memories, maybe it is. I mean, if that stuff is helpful, then maybe I might consider using some of it in a legal setting, you know.
Well, yeah, and then that's the other thing is they do have And I would tell anybody that ever explores something like that, definitely do it in a legal setting where you have people around you to help you. Like these are
Yeah.
these are ancient. I would almost consider them ancient medicines that have been around this planet for a long time. Not all of the newer ones, but things like magic mushrooms or I think the blue lotus is often spoken of in ancient Egypt. It's pretty much considered a sacred plant. And now that we're doing a little bit more research on it in science, we've realized, oh, this is a very rich DMT plant. That chemical that's created inside of your body and that we don't realize is the cause of our dreams. Stuff like that. It's also the ingredient in ayahuasca. But most of the time, our body, um, you would need an MAOI inhibitor in order to actually be able to ingest DMT and take it. Otherwise, you would probably hallucinate every time you had a salad.
Yeah.
But it's good that your body has developed these things so that you don't go on a hallucinogenic trip every time you eat vegetables, because I think almost all vegetables and stuff like that have a trace amount of DMT produced inside of them. And it's weird that humans do as well.
Okay. I didn't know that.
But yeah, no, that's why I was kind of separating the idea of like what we'd consider like a low dose of mushrooms or a low dose of acid or something like that to some of the things that they're doing. They're taking people on really deep journeys that you almost feel like you leave the existence that you're in. And I wonder if that would, trigger traumatic events and you'd be stuck there, or if it would be because I've heard some people talk about these experiences with what happened in some of these programs, and they're like, I don't want to talk about these things. I don't want to address these ideas. And I don't know if it's because there's so much pain attached to it or what it is, or if it's the blocks that they put in. You're supposed to feel pain when you think about them, or I really don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I wouldn't want to advise you to try something like that and it actually hurt you in a major way either.
Yeah. Well, me personally, none of that stuff has ever hurt me at all. I'm not gonna lie. Like, some of it was just fun. Some of it was like, healing. It was all a very long time ago, so it's hard for me to even remember at this point. But like, let's see. I have one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Just one time I had a magic mushroom experience where I kind of freaked out a bit, but I was at a hotel in Amsterdam, and I probably shouldn't have locked myself up in my hotel and taken magic mushrooms. So,
do you think it was because you were isolated?
Definitely. I went. As soon as they started to kick in really heavy, I went outside and I started to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with magic mushrooms specifically, I feel like I actually need to be outside, involved in nature, and it makes me feel a little more grounded. I actually put LSD in a different category when it comes to, because I think there's multiple categories to hallucinogens. I would consider mescaline and mushrooms pretty close to each other. Like when people are doing their peyote trips and stuff like that, that's usually where you find your mescaline type hallucinogens, your older Indian trips. And that's why I say those are kind of like ancient medicine when it comes to mushrooms and, mescaline or some of those things that have been practiced all throughout history. Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people are against that kind of stuff, especially they come from like maybe a politically right wing viewpoint on stuff. But me personally, as long as it's done in an environment that's not dangerous and not in. I mean, ultimately, people can do whatever the hell they want. Laws aren't going to change anything when you get down to it. But so I think that's a whole other realm of discussion. But I'm not against people doing whatever they want with their body, in that
Yeah.
regard. That's
No, I'm very much. I mean, and that's my libertarian side. We were talking about politics a little bit earlier, and kind of like where we fall on the line of Republican or Democrat, and I don't think either one of us fall there. But my libertarian side always tells me I don't really care what you do as a human, whether it's your sexual preference, whether it's your political preference, or what you want to do in your own home, as long as you're not harming others. Like that's kind of where I have to draw the line. As long as you're not harming others, you should be able to kind of do what you want. That to me is true freedom.
Yeah, and laws aren't really going to stop you from hurting yourself anyway. You're going to.
And I mean, my Darwinism tells me that if these people are so messed up that they need to hurt themselves for some reason, those people usually weed themselves out of society over time if they're not enabled to not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I should have more caring for people. Like, and if it's a mental thing, I would probably have more caring for people. But if it's just like a self-destruction thing, I do think there's a number of people on the planet that there is no right path for them, and they're never going to be able to accommodate to society. Whether you want to talk about serial killers, whether you want to talk about child molesters, whether you want to talk about anything, I feel like all of there's certain fringe members of society that are never going to be able to accommodate, and I don't think it's our job as a society to protect them, to actually make sure that their longevity as a human is fully reached. I think as long as we're protecting other people from the detrimental people of society, or the people making accidents, which are where it's a one-time thing, or it's something that happened accidentally when it comes to like injuries or stuff like that. It's not the same thing with molestation for me. I was just saying when somebody commits a crime or does something wrong on a singular basis, that's not the same as a repeat offender. And some people are just never able to actually be rehabilitated back into society, especially when our jails promote that, at least in the U.S., that we rehabilitate people when honestly they're just fed back into society after being locked in a cage for a period of time. And odds are they're going back into society with a few more tools than they had when they left because of the people that they were learning around.
Yeah, probably. That's a whole other subject that is just so difficult to really, like, we don't even understand a lot of it at this point. Like, do we even fully know if we're unable to rehabilitate people? Do we?
No, I don't think that we're not able to rehabilitate people. I think we don't try to.
Mhm.
I think our jailing system is financially based or politically based, depending on what state you're in. But I don't think we're in the business of actually helping people. Otherwise, we would attack it with different methods.
Mhm.
I think there would be counseling involved in jail time if that was the case, and I think you would actually have to get approved by a counselor or something like that in order to get restructured back into society. I don't think it's a time frame set by a judge.
Yeah.
That's not that's a number of days is not what makes you better.
Mhm. This is why, unlike a lot of Republicans, I'm really not in favor of a death penalty because I think it's in probably most instances of its use, it's kind of it's like the lazy way in a lot of instances, and
I think the Republican idea though with the death penalty is more of a financial one as well, for the simple fact that I think they don't want taxpayer dollars into keeping this person um, alive and feeding them meals when they're not considered somebody that's ever going to be made back into society.
yeah, and it's obviously, in states like California and Texas, for instance, where it's still used, it's misapplied through racial lines. Like
Oh yeah.
if you're a black kid in California and you kill somebody, you're more likely to get the death penalty than a white kid in California who kills somebody, especially if that kid is wealthy from a wealthy family or
Oh yeah.
something. It's like,
Oh yeah.
um,
Representation, all of that makes a huge difference. I don't think public defenders offer the same kind of
mm,
protection that a paid attorney can do.
mm,
I mean,
and even in
and as much
Texas,
as the state likes to justify, oh, we give people, state representation, that's
mm,
not the same as if you were to have paid representation. It would
yeah,
be it would be a different subject altogether. Yes, you'd probably be able to defend yourself better if you had somebody more interested in getting you to be freed, rather than the
yeah,
person that's there making the same amount whether you're freed or not.
yeah. It just seems like there's the thing of the electric chair, for instance. It just seems like a terrorizing mechanism where it's like, be good or you'll end up there. It's like, it's a compliance thing, I think, with a lot of people. Or with a,
I don't know. I've always
like a,
I've always been stuck on if we're gonna have the death penalty,
mhm,
like we have these like set dosages that we use for lethal injection and
mhm,
also the electric chair by how many volts that they
mhm,
administer. Um, if somebody lives through that, I think they are free to walk away by the definition of the sentence.
mhm. It just seems to me like we don't need to do that to
No, no, no.
people.
I'm
Just
not. I'm taking not doing
mhm,
that in general off the table.
mhm,
I feel
yeah,
like if somebody is sentenced to some kind of punishment,
yeah,
and they get through their punishment by some miraculous ability or feat, I would say that they should be free to walk. And no, I agree with you on the sense that I don't
mhm,
necessarily think the death penalty should be applied in a lot of situations.
mhm,
But what I'm saying is, I do think if it is applied and they happen to get through it, I think they should be free to walk because they did their sentence. Like,
mhm,
just because your sentence didn't do what you intended it to do doesn't necessarily mean that you should be able to re-administer it until death is reached
mhm,
by your standards, if that makes any sense.
mhm,
I was watching a series where basically uh, death had actually just stopped across the whole planet. Nobody could
mhm.
die. People were jumping off of like buildings, and yes, they'd become a puddle on the ground, but they were an alive puddle. I don't know if they were in pain or not because they couldn't express it because they no longer were able to talk or do things like that, but they could sense that the person was still alive. And this person, it happened to them that they were given the death penalty, and then he was actually a politician, was able to walk away after being administered the death penalty. It's almost like, okay, if you're going to put these type of like rules on people, at least follow your own rules that you put into place. Because I'd be the first one to say I don't think the death penalty is going to be considered humane in any way. But I see why conservatives and Republicans wouldn't want the alternative of having to pay for somebody that they're not actually trying to rehabilitate and bring back into society. I think there's I don't know what would be better. What do you think would be better? With your opinion on it, would you rather have somebody
Yeah.
have their life in jail or actually have a death penalty?
Well, I think prevention is the least expensive thing. I mean, if
No, I'm just saying. Say we take the death penalty off the table.
mhm.
As an alternative, would you rather have them spend life in jail, or would you rather have them have the ability to not suffer in jail for the rest of their lives?
I would rather see people be educated so that they choose not to get into these kinds of positions.
I agree.
So
Or actually rehabilitated, so they can learn from their mistakes and actually, better themselves as people and be able to become a productive member of society, or just if they want to leave society and not want to have anything to do with society and do their own thing, I'm cool with that too. Like I'm not going to exclude people from society, but I feel like if they don't feel like they belong, there's nothing wrong with them doing their own thing, as long as they're not harming others. Like that's just all where I draw the line, and that's why I wonder if it's more punishment to make somebody live out their life in solitary confinement, or if it's more humane to actually put them like. To me, it's like if a horse breaks their leg and they can no longer walk, and the argument of, okay, should you put them down or should you let them live their life the best they can in that kind of a pain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think people are more important than horses, but
What was that?
I think people are more important than horses. And
I think that they should be thought of though in the same way of both things encounter pain, even if we don't notice them. And that's why I use animals as an example, because they're not going to tell you that they're in pain from their leg. They will do their best to show you with what's ingrained in them, but at the same time, somebody that's in life in prison isn't going to tell you the pain that they go through from being life in prison. They're just going to be in life in prison, and they're going to make the best of what they have, regardless, if you notice it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more a way of acknowledging the pain and suffering that something could go through without them being able to express it to you.
I don't know anybody who's done life in prison, so.
Me personally, I also do not.
I've done ministry work in prisons, though, to people who have been in, I assume, for a long time. But some
Have
of
you
them at
talked to
least.
like death row inmates, or is it just people that are in prison, or how does that work?
Let's see, have I ever talked with somebody on death row? No, I've never spoken with somebody on death row. I can't imagine what leads to a person getting into that position, but I'm sure that it's a failure on society's part in some way that leads to a person getting into that position. And if there was some way that we could prevent that from happening, I think it would be better than figuring out what to do after it's already happened. That may be naive. That may be
If you had to
idealistic,
if you had to talk to a death row inmate or something like that,
Hmm.
how would you get them to come to grips with what was going to happen to them in the future if you weren't able to change it, kind of thing?
well,
Like,
if I could talk to a death row inmate, I would probably want to know what led them to get to that point, so I could maybe better understand what what leads to a person being in that position, because I'm sure that person themselves suffered somewhere that led them to perpetuate suffering onto another person, like maybe a murder or something. Um,
but I'm saying, would you because I see that's your caring side that would want to rehabilitate them and
Hmm.
kind of correct that problem, but would would it
well,
be
it's-
better for you knowing that you couldn't change the result to better understand them or better prepare them for the fact that their life might be exterminated at some point in the future?
well, I'm sure if a person's on death row, they've probably already reached the point of realization that you know they're going to die. We're all going to die anyway. It's it's just part of life at this point. But like, what I think the real thing we should be looking at is what leads to a person ending up in that position, because maybe there is actually something that we could do about it. rather than
Oh yeah, no, and I agree. I think there is something we could do about it.
rather than wait until it's too late and they're already in that position. It seems like there's not enough research and investigation put into that aspect of it.
Oh, I
It's like,
agree, and I think that should be actually decided before the sentencing.
yeah,
Like if somebody needs any kind of guidance and is savable, I don't think it should be a matter of oh, okay, this person's sentenced to death. That's the end of it. Even though
mhm,
that they're going to be sitting through a 6 month to 2 year process of sitting on death row and waiting for that time to come, depending on how backed up their state is and what their laws are like. But if
I
somebody's
mean, some,
given that thing, it's like from the judgment, you're stuck in that position.
yeah. I mean, some people have been through such abuse in their lives that it's a wonder that they're not like mass murderers or something, or you know what I mean. It's like, can you imagine a kid who's been abused every day of their life, growing up thinking that's normal?
Oh
Um,
yeah,
they live in a violent home.
because
Maybe
that's
their
their
parents were
reality. They don't.
right,
That's their reality. They don't know anything else.
right,
And
and
I mean, everybody should be able to understand that side. If you talk to other people,
mhm,
you can understand what somebody else's reality is. You might
right,
not agree with it, and you might not think that's the way the world is, but you can understand how they were raised and what they've actually been through that made them the person that they are today.
mhm.
Regardless of, if I don't know. So what do you think is a factor then? Do you think the time that they experienced said trauma to know if they're able to be rehabilitated, or do you think it's like so? Say somebody's been in an abusive relationship for 40 plus years. Do you think they're at a point where they could ever learn uh, new things and another way to live, or is there a point of no return with humans when it's ingrained at some point?
I don't know. I think maybe with a lot of people who end up on death row, maybe they get to that point without ever having first realized that there is an alternative to that type of course. And maybe if they had been taught differently or learned differently along the way, that it wouldn't have gotten to that point. And I just think that maybe we could look into that more rather than just waiting until it's too late. Basically, I mean, you're talking about a point where it's like, okay, it's too late. The thing has already happened. What do we do about it then? That's a whole other. That's the area that we're focusing on only. We're not focusing on the other side of it, where it's like, well, what led we're not focusing at all really on like what led the person to that point and
Well,
what can we do to
let me ask
prevent
you a
it.
deeper question that'll bring it more back towards like politics side. Um, do you think that is something that in the Constitution
Mm-hmm.
um, we have wrong, where we have the right to a speedy trial, but
Mm-hmm.
do you think there should be other psychological things that are taken into account and studied before we immediately go to trial about certain ideas? Because if we go to trial about certain ideas, you're going to be sentenced based on said crime, and they're not. I don't know how much of your past they're going to take into account. I think they're going to look at the immediate crime, and I just didn't know if looking at it as a constitutional effort, if it would be thought of as, oh, okay, well, we're going to give them the right to a speedy trial because that's what's given to us in the Constitution, and we're not going to look at their past. We're just going to go right into, the
Mm-hmm.
trial and sentencing.
Well, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes along with all of that. There's the right to life, for instance, which isn't like people don't even know what that means anymore.
True.
It's
Well,
just people don't even.
I think it means different things to different people.
Hmm. Well, but what did the founding fathers mean when they wrote that? They meant that you know, you have a right to life, and um, it can't be taken away without due process.
But I feel like other people, when they think of a right to life, they think of it as uh, it's also the government's job to make sure that they're still alive, and that the government's looking out for them in order for them to be able to be alive. And
Yeah.
I think that's actually um, the other direction that it could go with the the thinking of right to life.
Mhm. Well, there's it can't be you can't be deprived of life without due process, and I just think that there isn't really full due process with a lot of stuff. Um, and and again, if you're talking about a kid who was abused their whole life and they don't know any better, um, they just think that's normal, and then when they're 15, they join a gang and go out and kill somebody. They just think that's normal behavior,
Yeah.
and
Now, to the
to
courts, all they see is the life that
Mhm.
the adult took, not what they went through as a child.
Right, and they you don't none of that's like that stuff's not taken into consideration,
Oh yeah.
and I don't think that's due process. Basically, I
And
think
that's the strange thing about our court system. Anything that happened to you before you were 18 years old isn't even allowed to be brought up or looked at in courts sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah,
Even crimes.
hmm yeah. So it's like, and to think that that doesn't have an effect on an adult's behavior is just it's obviously absurd. I mean,
Yeah.
um, if I it, not I'm not talking about personal experience here because it didn't happen, but if I were abused when I was a child and uh, every day of my life, and then I grew up to be, say, I grew up to be a president and I committed mass murder, like some of our presidents have, like through wars and whatnot. Um, isn't there perhaps? I'm not. I'm in no way condoning what any of these people have done, but what I'm saying is that maybe we should be looking at what these people came from and what led them to that kind of drastic action. It's like that's an extreme example,
This
but
is exactly what our police officers do.
mm,
There's a reason that when you get pulled over, there's a good chance that the police officer has already ran your record
yeah,
of what's
but that,
available because they want to know what they're walking into. It's not because they they want to they want to arrest you on the same thing. Most of the
mhm,
time, it's oh okay, I need to be prepared for this. And if
mhm,
it's more than 10 years ago and it's been expunged off your record, they have no
mhm,
idea of it.
yeah. Um, I have no idea, but
But you know what I mean? I think that's relatable in the sense that, yes, I think all of this stuff, like what happens in your history, should be at least recorded. That way, people can have a better understanding of what's going on.
mhm, yeah, it just seems like prevention is less of a thing than it should be, and investing in prevention, I think, would be a better long-term solution to things rather than figuring out what to do to
After,
punish after something's already happened.
yeah. I mean, and the only way that can actually happen with people is if they actually reach out on a personal level and
Hmm.
actually seek help. It's not. It's not even done if other people seek help for them. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how many shooters I've heard about that other people in their family have called, police or FBI or something on them prior, and they just never got the help that they needed, and then still
Hmm.
went on to commit a crazy crime after that. Because
Yeah.
even other people reached out around them, and noticed the red flags, but none of them were actually addressed. Oh, hey
Yeah.
Chase, by the way, this is Michael MacIntosh. I have the comment pulled up so you can't see his name right now, but this is our guest Michael MacIntosh. I appreciate you stopping by, Chase. Oh, and
Yeah, it's just
they said they run your plates before they even approach you. I
Yeah.
guess it depends on what it is. If you got a cop held up and he's just looking for speeders to go by, and he's in an area where you can't see him approaching, and he catches your speed, they are just running numbers. Then sometimes it just depends. But if they're just driving around and they pull up behind you, they run your plates, and then yeah, there's a good chance they're going to run your plates and look at your record before they even decide to pull you over or not. It just depends on the situation, though.
hmm I haven't gotten pulled over in a very long time. Let's see. Trying to remember the last time. It's probably in the 90s.
You want me to teach you a method of how to get pulled over without committing a crime? It works in every state.
Okay.
So what I tell people is, depending on how many seats you have in your car, what you need to do is you need to fill all of those seats with a body, but preferably like a living one, and regular humans. And what you do is you have them all wear baseball caps, and they all
hmm
have to be backwards. And I guarantee you get pulled over within an hour of driving.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, I realized this when I was younger. I got pulled over a lot less when I didn't have um, a car full of people, and then they weren't wearing hats for some reason. For some reason, I don't know why, but if you have a car full of people wearing hats, they assume somebody in the car is doing something wrong. I don't know if this
Yeah.
is just like some kind of weird strategy that they have, but I've accounted this firsthand with several situations. I wish I would have known more about the law when I was younger,
Yeah.
because that was the times I was getting pulled over, and they all actually fit that circumstance.
The last time I got pulled over was because I blew a stop sign. I didn't see it. It was at an intersection, and I was driving by myself, and there was a stop sign, and it was hidden by a tree, and I blew the stop sign. And there happened to be a cop sitting there because he probably knew that the stop sign was hidden.
Oh yeah.
and and was looking for people to blow through it. And I think it was the last day of the month too, so he was probably trying to make his ticket quota or something. So
And I always thought it was funny that police try to pretend that those quotas aren't things,
Hmm.
but like as citizens, we can recognize that there's more people getting pulled over towards the end of the month sometimes, and we never understood why.
Yeah,
But we tried to make the correlation. But still, to this day, you can't find an officer that would admit that there's a quota.
yeah,
So weird to me.
yeah. I'm definitely a really good driver, but I, I've gotten to the point where I realize that I probably shouldn't be driving anymore.
Why so?
Well, because I'm a candidate for office, and I mean for instance, the last U.S. president who ever drove after he got elected was Lyndon Johnson. Now, presidents aren't actually allowed to drive, so and that's for security reasons. So I think that probably it should apply to candidates as well, or at least candidates should take that into consideration because you might you might be at risk if you're driving
I can
for
see I could see you being at just as much risk, being being vulnerable to whatever driver you have.
Mhm.
I think me and Mud Rabbit were talking about this with like Princess Diane.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, do you think if she was driving that night, do you think the situation would have been different?
Well, no, of course not. But
But it's just like what's going on around you is based on who's driving your vehicle. Would you
Mhm.
rather be in control, or would you rather have somebody else in control? And do you trust the person that's in control?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when I was talking about before I started having all these memories, it was because of an injury that I had due to a car accident, um,
Yeah.
in which I was the passenger, and something weird happened. I think I was maybe being targeted by somebody, and because I know just beforehand I'd been blabbing on the internet about some stuff, and I think it probably upset somebody.
What were you talking about, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm trying to remember now. It's like, let's see. Um, oh yeah, I was on MySpace when it was popular, and I think MySpace was still kind of popular in like the late, like 2010. It was still sort of popular-ish.
Yeah, and they brought it back recently too. I don't know
Yeah.
if that was around the 2010 time or not.
So I had a MySpace page, and it had a blog section,
Hmm.
and I started talking about basically my thoughts on 9/11 and the Iraq War and the Patriot
Oh, yeah.
Act and all this
That'll
stuff.
cause some red flags.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I was extensively talking about that on the internet from like 2003 onward. You know,
Yeah.
um, in fact, probably even before that. But so I don't know. I just think like when I started doing that, I knew the risks that it entailed, and I'm pretty sure I started hearing like my phone calls being recorded and stuff, and strange noises outside my house at night and stuff. And it didn't bother me, but uh, it seems like I might have been targeted for a car accident because of that stuff, and that's where I had that car accident that led to me being injured and then having all these memories come back to me. But
So was it certain work that you were doing to get like after the accident? Like was there certain work that you were doing that was triggering it more, or was like what? Or do you think it was the accident itself that made you think about it more?
that made me want to investigate my memories, or like,
No, 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 no. That made these memories come forward. I didn't know if it was like
oh,
some kind of process that they were doing with you in like a rehabilitation side after the accident, or if it was something that after the accident you just started realizing that these memories were coming to surface.
oh, well, yeah, it was the trauma. I still had all of these traumas, um, going back through my childhood and everything else, and just trying to figure out what caused them, so I could realize, okay, that was that. Let's put that over here, and it's gone, and I can move forward. Um, but I couldn't remember what caused them, and excuse me. So my wife is also a minister. Um, so because of her training with that, she was able to help me kind of deep dive into my memory and help me to figure out what actually caused these traumas. And so um, that's what we did. It took hours and hours of work, and making sure we were in the right setting and environment and everything else. And excuse me. And that's where the first ones came from, the first memories. And I and we learned about this memory regression method through, let's see, a woman named Ralph. What's her name? I'll tell you her full name.
Ralph. something Ralph. I remember it now because Andy's
think
talked
it's
about her before.
Cindy. Is it Cindy Ralph or
Yeah.
Stephanie Ralph? Okay, we learned about it through her. She's a So she married a guy named Michael Ralph.
Well, me and you have actually talked about your encounter with. You said it was Sydney and Michael,
Um,
or Stephanie.
yeah,
And Michael.
Stephanie is his wife, who he married later on after he he, he had been.
Well, I just thought it was
Wait.
ironic because when me and you actually reached out to Andrew to try to reconnect with him again, he said that you should talk to this person, and you were like, "Oh, well, yeah, I've already talked to this person." Because
Yeah,
the one who actually told me about it, it was about Michael Ralph and about Stephanie.
yeah. Andrew said I should talk with a guy named Sasha Lesson, who I've
Oh,
actually.
I thought it was about Michael Ralph and Stephanie. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but Stephanie Ralph has a Bachelor of Science from Sydney University in zoology, histology, and basically she's a scientist and I think a mental health professional as well. And she helped her husband, who had been military, U.S. military, um, to uncover all of these memories that he had before they met. And she helped him figure out that he had been part of a Mars program. And I'm like, what? Like, as I'm learning about this stuff. I'm like, wait, Mars programs? This stuff is real. And I'm like, and then it dawned on me. I'm like, wait a minute. I think that might have happened to me. I'm like, wait, that can't be. That can't have possibly happened to me. That's ridiculous. So, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, wait, maybe I'm just suppressing something here. Maybe this did actually happen to me. Let's go deeper into it. And we went deeper into it. And that's when I figured out that I had actually been, as a child, part of a Mars teleportation program while living in Calgary, Alberta. And just this whole flood of memories started coming back to me. And that's when I actually remembered, additionally, all these other people who had been involved with it, like Barack Obama, Andy Bashago. I didn't remember them as like their names or anything. I mean, everybody knew who Barack Obama was at that point.
Did they have nicknames in the program, or did they have the same names that they go by nowadays?
We didn't use names for anybody, but I mean, everybody knew who Barack. Like by the time I started uncovering my memories,
But I always thought it was interesting that some people refer to him as Barack Obama just by modern terms, and some people refer to him as Barry Soetoro, how they actually met him. And I didn't know if there was names used at some point, or if they had like call signs for people, or how you addressed others in the program if you didn't have a name.
Yeah. Well, this sounds weird, but it seems like everyone who was selected for these programs had some level of telepathy. So it was not names weren't necessary and not used.
Zachary Kim said, "Can I drive you, Mr. MacIntosh?" And he said, "By the way, who were you with during the accident?" I assume that was
I should probably respect that person's privacy and not say anything about it. It's just a friend of mine. Nobody you know. So.
And Zachary Kim said, Michael Phillips said Obama's real name is Barry Soetoro.
Well, regardless, but trying to remember.
And I've heard people say contradictory things, whether it was Barry Soetoro or Barry Soetoro. And I've heard different things from different people about that.
Well, he could be all of those things, but he obviously chose to use the name Barack Obama to run for president and for senator.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yes, we in Illinois know very well what
Yep.
we've done.
and let's see. But it's weird that I started remembering Andy Vashago before I knew who he was. And it was only after I started remembering him that I found out his stuff on the internet. Through Michael Ralph. Like Michael Ralph, I think talks about Andy as well, and
Yeah.
so I actually approached Andy on Facebook. I messaged him, and we just started talking. It's like he was expecting me to message him or something. I don't know. It seemed like
What do you know? What year around it was when you started messaging Andy?
this would have been. I guess this would have been like 2017 at this point.
Okay. Because I remember getting to talk to Andy online on Facebook, and it was so weird because I felt like I was actually talking to him. Like, eventually he no longer worked his webpage anymore that he had on Facebook, and he eventually stopped taking friends through Facebook because he was having trouble with his vision. But I remember actually getting to talk to him, and me having I think the few first questions that I ended up talking to him were actually about Al Bielek, and what he thought of that project and stuff like that. And at the time, he was very against speaking about other people in what he called the truth movement, and he just wanted everybody to have their own ability. And now I feel like Andy actually speaks out a lot more against others because he thinks that they're taking away from his story or
Right.
that they've stolen something off of his story. And
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe some people need to realize that this stuff is quite possibly more common than any of us realize.
Oh yeah, and
I
that
mean,
there's. I think it's
I have that
very. I
problem as
think
well.
all of these programs were very decompartmentalized in the sense that there could have been kids going through the same thing that you were that you didn't know about.
Yeah, for sure. And but so I but like because of this memory, I got in touch with Andy, and I'm like, is this stuff real? Are you for real? I'm like, because I'm having these memories, and I think I know who you. I think we work together, and well, I don't think I said that to him, but I said I think like I'm having these memories and of this stuff that happened to me, and I don't know if they're real or not, or like could they be real? And he's like, yeah, for sure. You could be like this could be real. And it was only until it was only when we went on Janet Lesson's show together that he started trying to say that I was lying and like discredit me because I think
And you were the second guest on the show, or you were the first guest on. I think I remember the show.
it was. Yeah, I was on there before. I was the first guest on the show, and then Andy came on and started talking, and he started.
Well, I noticed that with Andy for a little while, as he started doing that with hosts that you were on with.
Yeah.
He started trying to follow all of your shows. He did.
Right.
The other time that I was talking to you about earlier was with Gary. You did a show earlier that week, and then he tried to do a following show the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he also called out, I believe, Randy. I think it was Randy Kramer was the person that he was also trying to call out at the time.
Well, I don't know anything about Randy, but I do remember Barack Obama, and I do remember this other guy who I found out through the Michael Ralph stuff was Andy Bashago.
Okay.
And
have you ever been able to know any other people besides? Because I've heard you talk about Andy,
Well, I've talked to I've talked to Barack Obama extensively, but
Oh wow.
we've never talked about Mars teleportation or anything. It's for other reasons.
Was
Like,
that from back in the past, or
no, like during his presidency, I was in touch with Obama like basically every day. I know
really?
that sounds, yeah. I mean, I worked
We've never talked
for.
about this. I'm trying to dig into
Yeah,
it.
I
What
know.
do you give
I
me some
know
pointers?
because some. Well, I know because honestly, a lot of it is still classified.
Okay.
Um, and I probably shouldn't talk about specifics, but I was basically a White House cabinet member during the Obama administration. I wasn't officially a cabinet member, but I was.
Both terms, or just more
Yeah,
in the first term, or more in the second term, or
both terms right up until the end.
okay.
And I was what you basically call a kitchen cabinet member, where there's the president's official cabinet, and then there's the people that he actually consults, but aren't
Oh,
actually
I mean,
in the cabinet.
Kitchen cabinet is a softball term. I think we're gonna go with
Yeah.
Indian in the cupboard.
Well, whatever term you want to use, but I was in contact with. I wasn't in Washington, but I was remotely
Oh, okay.
linked to Washington like daily. Sometimes, I was briefed regularly from the White House about um, stuff going on that I can't still talk about, honestly, because it's classified, and I probably shouldn't, for the sake of
Mudra
not.
said Obama's rise in education and politics was paid for by Bin Dalla
Mhm.
of Saudi Arabia.
But we didn't talk about Mars or teleportation or anything like that because
What did you
that
guys
was
talk about then? Like,
well.
was it just current affairs and you can't talk about that, or was it about like did you guys have stuff in common that weren't involved with you working in?
Yeah, I mean that is really sensitive, and I probably just should
But no,
not
no,
say
no.
what
Like,
I'm.
what about on a personal level, not regarding your work with
Um,
if you were involved in the administration? Did you guys feel like you had anything in common outside of the project that you guys didn't discuss, like musical
um,
interests or something like that?
well,
Religious? I
well,
don't know.
yeah. I mean,
I've always wondered kind of where he stands religiously and just where he falls in
yeah.
general with most personal things.
Well, Obama loves music. I mean, that's no secret. He's a big supporter, and he was a big supporter of the arts and music during his administration. Um,
Did you guys ever
being
get a chance to talk about that on your guys' free time? Is kind of what I was hinting at. Did you guys get to talk about any of those things you guys had in common?
not no, not really. I mean, I could just tell. Just you, you just know from talking to him
Oh
that
yeah,
he's.
he's like the Ellen DeGeneres of presidents. I think he's that guy that wants to come out dancing on the stage to the song he picked out. Like he he uh, he's always had a good. I wouldn't say a good musical influence, but he
Mhm.
expresses his musical influence. I don't
Mhm.
think I don't think he's much of a Jay Z and Beyonce fan as he makes it out to be. I think he's got other, key musical influences, but I think there's a lot of mainstream musical artists that he'll keep
Mhm.
around him and keep
Yeah.
in his close accompaniment in order to stay in the light that he's in.
Well, I think he's the type of person who's, I mean, he's American. He gets the point of the First Amendment, and I think he's been. I think since he was president, at least when he was president, he was very supportive of people endeavoring to make use of the First Amendment through music and art, and so he, like his administration, was actually quite supportive of my band. I know that sounds funny, but like
This doesn't sound funny.
that album, one of the albums that we made while he was
How
president.
did he know that that was connected to you?
And what do you mean? Like,
How did he know that that was your band? If you never really got to conversate with him about it, I was kind of curious to how he would have known that you were involved in that band.
that's a good question, and I don't know the answer to it. Um, I think he probably just knew I was a musician and I was interested in making music.
How did you know you were a musician? The magician.
Musician.
Sorry.
Good question. I wonder what apparatus they have to spy on everybody that gives them all that access to all that information. But I mean, it
I just
says.
feel like he does really have a strong musical interest. I just that's why I was kind of curious with the original question. I was like, I wonder if you
Yeah.
ever
Oh
guys
well,
ever got to talk about that stuff on the
I
side,
mean,
or
it
if it ever
does.
came
It
up.
does say on. There is plenty of information about me on the internet that says I'm a musician. I mean, it's
True.
not a big secret. It says so on my Facebook page. It says I have websites.
How long has that stuff been up? The stuff pretty much about you and your musical career and stuff like that. Like I know you posted music from 6+ years ago.
Oh, I have. There's stuff of mine on the internet that was recorded in the '90s.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So
I haven't seen the older stuff. I haven't been able to find those. Like, because I only know about your current YouTube page. I've seen a few of the websites, but I don't know how many of them have been around for a while and which ones.
yeah. Well, YoungAstronautsClub.com has been around for a very long time now. It's like over 20 years probably at this
Oh wow.
point.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite a popular band site. Yeah, that's been around for a very long time. We were one of the first bands to actually make use of the internet when everybody was still trying to get their song on the radio and MTV and everything. We were just like, well, we're too young. Like, these people aren't going to talk to us anyway.
I've seen it. I've seen it in comedians, and I've seen it in musical artists. The people that got a head start on the internet and knew what they were doing killed it in the future.
Yeah.
My best example is usually Dane Cook and an artist by the name of he goes by the artist name of Tech Nine. Um, he's from Missouri, but he's a speed rapper. What he did is when he first started coming out on MySpace and stuff like that, is he gave out his music for free. He was an independent artist that was able to do that before it was before YouTube. So at the time, it was just like, oh, there's an artist giving out music for free, and this has never been a thing. Nowadays, you can go online, you can get like bonus tracks for being online and stuff like that outside of the album that you're purchasing. Like you might have some perks, but for an artist to jump on the internet and give out music for free and let people sample their art, it's it was a rare thing at the time. Because people thought of the internet as all right. There's chat rooms, there's communication, and at the same time, you might be able to buy stuff online. But when it came down to it, there wasn't much more than that. There wasn't a lot of free content on the internet yet.
Right. Yeah, we used exactly. I mean, we put stuff on our own website. We use sites like, it doesn't exist anymore, but there was a site called mp3.com.
I know exactly what mp3.com is.
We used that back
It's
in the 90s.
it's actually evolved. It's still around, but it's evolved into other things.
We used we used Napster a lot when that first came out. You could get our stuff on Napster.
Oh yeah. They had things like Kazaa. They had like BearShare back in the day. They had
AOL.
Yeah.
I mean, you could share your album with MP3s through AOL.
And me and you probably talked about this. I used to talk about this all the time, like going up to a newsstand and seeing a free AOL disc and trying out AOL for the first time. Like I remember putting that into my computer, the disc, and trying out whatever version that I happened to, get
Yeah.
that time. I'd always get a better version every time I got it, but they always had like 1.1, 2.0, 3.0, and you eventually like got a decent version of AOL. But I mean, trying to explain like dial-up to my daughter is such a weird concept, like to me, because I was around when the internet became a thing um, on a social realm, where the everyday homeowner was actually able to use it in their own home. Like as long as you had a phone line or an extra phone line, you'd be able to use the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's weird seeing that grow in front of my eyes, and what artists made it out from it, and what artists are still utilizing it. Like we were talking about earlier with artists making it big on YouTube. Um, like it's so strange to see these artists be able to utilize social media in a good way, and then
Yeah.
see what social media is today. And now people think of social media as just like this plague on society.
Yeah. We also used torrent sites a lot when they were actually more popular. We'd put a lot of stuff out with torrents,
Oh
and
yeah.
that would get us like literally like billions of downloads around the world. So it was kind of
Well, that's the way to do it. I
yeah,
mean, you show people what you're doing, and then it makes them either want more or they go, "This isn't the artist for me."
yeah,
Like you have a choice of where you want to go there. There's your fork in the road. Is this something you like, or is it something you don't like? It's your
yeah,
scroll on before you had a chance to scroll on. Like I don't know.
yeah. I remember just for a laugh, really, to get attention for it. I remember putting out a series of Young Astronauts Club albums with torrents in the porn section of torrent sites.
Did it get the laughs that you were intending?
Oh yeah, it got. I mean, it got millions and millions more downloads than it would have as music. So it was kind of funny. I mean, I guess it's really quite sad actually when you think about it that people would rather download my music because they think it's porn than download it because it's music. But that's marketing for you.
I mean, I all right. That actually leads me to way too many more questions. All right, like what type of porn was it labeled as? Like, where are we going with this?
Well, I just
Are you hitting a certain demographic here,
I'm not
or
really sure of the different types of porn there are, but
what do you advertise your music porn as?
what, what have I had?
No, I'm just joshing you. But
Well,
we're over the 3 hour mark. I actually
yeah,
have to wrap it up here.
yeah.
But I
So
do appreciate you coming on.
yeah, for sure. Thank you for talking, and hope we get to talk again soon.
Oh yeah, always. Like I said, I would like to set up something with you. If you get a chance, I'll share some content with you from Rev. I want to know what you think about doing a show with him here in the future. If he's open to it as well. I was just checking with both sides to see if it was doable. Who's gonna play us out?
That's as far as I can get.
And say I like that song. That what song was that? Because I've heard it before.
Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. I didn't think it was Purple Haze, but I thought it was something I had heard before. So I knew it sounded similar. But yes, thank you everybody else for tuning in. I hope you guys had a good time. But yes, everybody have a beautiful night, and we'll have MacIntosh play us out with some Purple Haze if he's got one more riff in him.
Um,